I put that on the back burner. And fast forward earlier this year, my buddy John, who is also my campaign manager, has been my best friend for over 20 years. He told me that Kevin Brady was not going to be running for reelection, and I kind of felt this gut feeling that, hey, it's your time. That's kind of what I heard. And so I told John that I think I'm going to run, and but I wanted to go home. I wanted to think about it because a lot of people don't count the cost. And I can tell you that if you guys think getting 13,000 followers in 24 hours is a good thing, let me just tell you that it may seem like a good thing, but it's not necessarily. And so it's a lot of weight to carry to have that happen all at once. So I wanted to count the cost because I also knew that by doing this, well, running for Congress, period. Remember, I didn't start off to run against Dan Crenshaw. So running for Congress, period, I had to really count the cost of, am I willing for my life to be under a microscope, my past, because like I said at the very beginning of this call, I have a past. I have a past because your boy's not perfect. And so was I willing to drag my name through the mud, my immediate family, my extended family, was I willing to go through that? Went home, prayed about it, talked to my wife, woke up the next morning, had a piece about running, came back to John and said, all right, I'm going to do it. Scared crapless that entire day. Went to bed that evening and woke up with a peace. And my attitude since then has been, how many butts do we have to kick to get the job done? So we started off in Congressional District 8. We gained a lot of momentum. Just here recently, here on my Twitter, I've been posting some of my 1-minute answers to the questions that we were asked at the Montgomery County Republican Party Forum that we had back in September. Well, a couple of months after that, and we knew that Texas was adding 2 new districts, and so we knew there's probably going to be some gerrymandering that was going to be going on, and sure enough, there was. And the final map that Abbott signed had me moved from Congressional District 8 to Congressional District 2. Now, why do I say that I like to consider myself to be a man of principle? And this is also why I think that anybody that says that I changed my loyalties from Congressional District 8 to Congressional District 2 doesn't know their butt from a hole in the ground of what it means to be a man of principle. So I've always said from the very beginning, and I've always believed that a congressman or a candidate should run to represent the district in which they live. I believe that's important. Maybe the people that think I'm just adjusting my loyalties, maybe that's not important to them, but it is important to me. And so I had to make a choice. Am I going to continue to run in Congressional District 8 when I don't live in the district? Or am I going to make a decision to be the man of principle that I strive to be and go ahead and run to primary Dan Crenshaw, which I looked at as an even bigger mountain than Congressional District 8. And so I wanted to do the right thing, wanted to be a man of integrity. So I went ahead and made the switch. As a matter of fact, I actually tell people I didn't switch districts. The district switched me. So I live in Congressional District 2. That's why I'm now that's not why I'm now running in Congressional District 2. And it's been a pretty wild ride ever since. The thing that's been a real challenge for me lately is I've been wanting to get back to talking about policy. I've been wanting to get back to talking about free market capitalism. I want to talk about our foundations and freedom and liberty. Unfortunately, Dan Crenshaw keeps opening his mouth and is making it too easy to just expose him. And that's a little frustrating for me because it's not necessarily something I want to do. It's not something that I enjoy doing. I've had several people try to expose me. The problem is that because I'm an open book and I'm very transparent, I mean, all you're doing is exposing something I've already exposed myself on. So with that being said, there's just one thing I want to touch on really quick because especially here on Twitter, it's been kind of a big deal recently. Marjorie Taylor Greene was banned permanently from Twitter, and I think she also got suspended or got a warning or something on Facebook, and it all had to do with quote unquote misinformation about COVID and about the vaccines. And whenever I look at what she said, and I look at how she actually called out Dan Crenshaw, because Crenshaw believes that FEMA, for some reason, that FEMA, which is a government agency, is the answer to all of our problems. And the problem that I personally have with that is I can't think of a single thing that government's ever touched they've made better. And whenever I read the Constitution, it's supposed to place a restriction on the federal government, not the private citizen. And if I remember the late great Ronald Reagan, he's the one that said that the 9 most terrifying words in the English language are "I'm from the government and I'm here to help." And so the fact that Crenshaw thinks that more government is the answer, it scares me. But whenever you look at his voting record and you look at the fact that he also believes in funding a federal vaccine database, and which he came out and said that no, that's not what I was doing. We were actually putting restrictions, blah blah blah. And the reason why I call BS on that is simply because of the fact that if you look at Ann Custer, who's the original sponsor of the bill, one of the most liberal Democrats out of New Hampshire, you have to look at what her reasoning was for wanting to fund this database. And if you actually do your due diligence and you don't just believe what the rhinos say, and you actually are a free thinker and actually do your own research, you quickly learn that it's not as straightforward as Crenshaw would have you to believe. And so there's a whole slew of other things. I know I've read off his voting record in the past, and but with that being said, this is where we're at. We've got a lot of momentum, and I'm excited. This isn't something that I feel like I have to do. It's not necessarily something I want to do. This is something I feel like I've been called to do, and so yeah, I am enjoying the process, and I also believe that if we don't take a season to set aside leisure to pursue liberty, then we're going to wind up losing our nation. And so I want to thank all of you guys for being on. I don't know how many people we have on here tonight, but I definitely want to say thank you for taking time out of your Tuesday to be on whenever you could be sitting back, watching Netflix or scrolling social media or doing whatever.
Yeah. I want to, Jameson, that is awesome for you. And I actually wrote this down while you were speaking earlier. Uh, I literally wrote down, this guy feels called. That's what I said. I mean, yeah, we spoke before, but it's not like we're buddies or anything. And I was like, this guy feels called. He feel, and you said that right at the end. So that's awesome. Whether you feel called to be a servant, whether you feel called to change a job, to work for people, to volunteer time, to freaking donating blood. I mean, to be a servant is there's nothing better than to find someone who can be that way, and that's awesome. So I appreciate that. Hey, I wanted to ask you a quick question. So I know, and then we'll open it up. So I see a hand, and we'll open it up here in a second. Especially if you're in the area, that'd be awesome. If you could vote for this guy or against him or whatever, be polite about it. But Jameson, tell me, what is the most maybe eye-opening experience that you could just summarize so far that you've seen? And maybe you've already covered that. I was in some DMs earlier. I'm sorry.
No, you're all good. So eye-opening experience in the race or just in general?
Yeah. In the race, like, holy cow, I have to do this, or this happened. Is this for real? Or maybe it's more subtle than that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it would just be. I mean, it's really been a series of events. If I'm just being honest, anybody that was on here last time, I shared how the week of leading up to Liberty on the Lake, which was our relaunch rally, I got a call from Patriot Jay, who was going to be performing. He's a MAGA rapper. He's going to be performing at the event along with Bryson Gray, and we had to replace him with Forgiato Blow, but which was awesome, by the way. But Patriot Jay, I've kind of formed a friendship with him, and he works for Breitbart, and I think we're far enough away from there that's not a big deal anymore. But he works for Breitbart, and I don't know if Patriot Jay just didn't realize that the event was going to be a fundraiser, as well as a campaign launch party or a relaunch party in the District 2, if you will. But anyways, he got in trouble because Crenshaw's campaign actually reached out to Breitbart and got him in trouble. So he wasn't able to make it. And so that was the first eye opener. Part of that process was I got a call on Thursday, and there was a voicemail left. There was no name, no phone number, no email left. It just said that, started naming off some stuff about my past, and I kind of felt like it was to kind of shake me up. What they didn't realize is they were just lighting an even larger fire under my ass. And then Saturday, this is the morning of the event. Saturday, um, I walk out to my front porch and there's a blank white envelope, and in that white envelope, I was hoping maybe it was a check, maybe someone's anonymous donation, somebody trying to support the campaign. No, that definitely wasn't the case. So I opened it up, and the title of the document was Jameson Ellis Quick Hits, and it was talking about some businesses that I had started and failed over 10 years ago, by the way. So one of them was an HCG weight loss clinic, and we got screwed over. It was not shut down by the FDA like some of the trolls trying to say it was a weight loss pill or a diet pill. There were no pills involved whatsoever. But it was HCG weight loss clinic back whenever HCG was really big. We are doing the homeopathic HCG. Then another one was a network marketing company that I had started. It wasn't one that I had joined. It was one that I had started with a partner, and that lasted for about 4 or 6 months. And he and I just couldn't see eye to eye on things. And the truth be told, he just wasn't a believer in the industry, and I was. And so we decided to go ahead and shut down that company, if you will, or give up on that company, if you will. And so those were the first three things. And then, of course, here recently, um, I've been, I don't know if I should talk about this or not. So I've been
Well,
targeted, if you will.
you don't have to.
Well, it's
Just
well, it's just like to me, Crenshaw is who we all need to be focusing on, and so I feel like I've been targeted by one of my fellow candidates, and I got accused of doing something that just absolutely wasn't the case. So I've been saying from the very beginning that I felt like it was an honor and a privilege to have two of the leaders of the Trump campaign for 2020 call me an America First candidate. I didn't call myself. So I mentioned that in the tweet, and then all of a sudden, I got targeted by two or three other people that were supporting another candidate in the race, and so that was a little bit kind of odd to me. And then today, of course, um, we see that I'm being called out. Like, so today there was a picture of one of my arrest records. And so, yeah, your boy's been arrested. I actually talked about this on the last time we were on this Texas talk a couple weeks ago. Yeah, I was arrested because I was young and dumb. This was 16 years ago, mind you. But yeah, I was arrested, and for driving with a suspended license. And my license was suspended because I got some speeding tickets in Meadville, Texas, that I never paid uh, because I was young and dumb and broke. So yeah, so I got arrested. So that was actually posted online. I actually thought that was extremely funny. And then there was also a picture of me that was posted from like 2006, whenever I guess you could call me an emo kid. So I was in a band. So I had long black hair. My lip was pierced, nose was pierced, eyebrow. I wore guy liner. Luckily, in that picture, I didn't have any on, but I was in a rock band, screamo band, and so they posted that and tried to attack my looks, and then they also brought up my failed business ventures. So I guess it's kind of been a mixture of all of that has kind of been eye opening to me. And then on the flip side, and I just want to say this, by the way, if that's all they got, and there was a portion of a video they posted too, which I thought was ridiculous. Literally, it's a 14-minute video, and they chose to only show like 40 something, like 40 seconds of it. If that's all they got, they're going to need a lot more than that if they think that that's going to scare me away, or that's going to deter me from fighting to fire DC from DC. And so all it does is it makes me even more motivated. It makes me even more. It lets me know that we're doing something right, and it also lets me know that he does not feel safe. And I've said it once, and I'll say it again. It's not because he's afraid of little old Jameson Ellis, the little old grassroots campaign. It's because he's afraid of every single one of you, because he knows that he's effed up.
Hey, I think the last time I was in a space with you, there was someone from another way far away saying something about how they were going to donate money to you. I said, there you go. I said, we've literally said stuff like that before in spaces. Don't support a party, support a candidate, whether it's your candidate or somewhere across the United States. If it's a vital candidate, or you're needing to make donations, I think that's awesome. And that is one thing Summer can attest, and a lot of people in this room can attest to that. People like to help people, and in spaces sometimes you find a family, and people will be there for you. So that's awesome, and I'm hoping that's what will happen for you. joining these spaces. So SSG, you've had your hand up for a while. Go ahead.
Hey, how's it going? My name is Staff Sergeant Matty. I've spoken to Aaron a little bit, Aaron Sorrells. I just want to really ask the question. So I'm going through a PCS process. I've been active duty for 10 years. Started off in New Mexico, Afghanistan, Leonard Wood, Missouri, went to Korea, and then now I'm in Colorado. Colorado Springs specifically, I can't really speak for the state. It is more expensive, but it's been a beautiful state. Now I'm going to Fort Hood. I leave in actually 4 days. I'm loading up the U-Haul as we speak. I wanted to really ask the question about the water issue there, because I've reached out to my friends who are there, and they've said they've had to spend like $600 or $6,000 on water filtration systems, and I just wanted to ask about that. And then the market there is really high, so it's kind of difficult to afford housing there because the money that I get to pay for housing here is $700 more than what I get to pay for in Texas. However, it's it's about the same expenses in Texas, if you don't mind. Thank you.
Okay, so first of all, I just want to say I definitely appreciate your service, and more than you could possibly imagine. And I kind of feel bad because I don't know that I have an answer for you, more specifically towards the housing and the water issue. So that's one other thing that you'll find out about me. I'm not going to try to BS my way through answering the question, but I apologize. I really don't know what to say, to those two specific topics.
I've answered his. I know what he asked because he's asked to me. You actually, is your role. You would have no say so in affecting what he's asking. Nothing. I mean, his point would be directed more at me, which we had a long conversation about. So you can't, from U.S. status, you can't actually affect what he's that needs to be done by Texas legislature and stuff to fix the problem.
Well, I mean, and in that sense, one of the things that I will speak to is we need to make sure that what I'm going to do is I'm going to fight to make sure that the federal government stays within its jurisdiction and allows the states to do their damn jobs. So that's one of the issues that we're having right now is that the states are disempowered because this thing called jurisdiction, the federal government doesn't know what the heck that means, and government's gotten way too big. And actually, Aaron and I talked about this at great lengths, is that the best way that Aaron can do his job is by me voting down every single bad piece of legislation and fighting to bring the federal government back within its jurisdiction, which really, in all reality, its two main functions is to protect our unalienable God-given rights and to secure our borders. And if they're going to fail at securing our borders, and they're going to fail at protecting our unalienable God-given rights, it's up to the states to make sure that they protect the sovereignty of their state for their citizens.
Yeah, I appreciate the answer. One thing I'll say, really just looking outside and in, and then going to Texas from here, we got to bring this thing in tight and be a team as members who run for government, whatever it may be. Because I've spoken to the Matt Gaetz, I've spoken to the Marjorie Taylors, and it's really been a talking point that gets them attention. It's really never been any action. So if there's any advice I can ever give anyone that runs, which maybe I'll do one day, I don't know when I retire, it's just remember your fan base and just keep in touch with them so you know what the people on the ground like myself are experiencing, because it hasn't been very rewarding, I guess you could say. It's been very difficult. There's no reason why I should sit here and spend $3,000 on a move and struggle to go through that and then have to figure out how to pay money for water filters and stuff like that. I think that's just crazy.
All right. So if anyone wants to ask Jameson a question, come on up before we move on to Aaron. But you guys raise your hand, request. We'll try to get you on up here. Go ahead, Scott.
Jameson, I'm not in your district, but I like what you said a while ago, and you're honest. So that has a lot to that goes a long way with everybody, especially with me. My district is my district's in Orange County, Texas. So I have. Let's see. I have Senator Cruz. I think John Cornyn is another. Well, I have Senator Ted Cruz is mine, and I have another one in like Dade Phelan, and another one I can't remember his name right now, but those are my Congress and Senate guys. So I guess what I'm trying to ask you is how much have you interacted with Ted and the rest of them?
Yeah, so that's definitely a fair question. So I'm going to go back to what I kind of shared earlier is that I'm not a politician, and the other thing is too is I have not been grooming myself for years to run for office, and you can definitely tell whenever people have been doing that. So this is definitely something. So and let me make sure I share this too. I think this is important, and this is just me being brutally honest again. So if you were to go to the Republican Party of Texas website and you were to pull my voting record, and if you're expecting to see someone's voted in every single election and every single primary, you're probably going to be severely disappointed. The reason why I bring that up is because you're talking to somebody that has felt disenfranchised by a party whenever they gave us John McCain in 2008 and Mitt Romney in 2012. And feeling like my vote didn't count, especially after they screwed over Ron Paul in 2011. And so you're talking to somebody that is a product of the system. You're talking to somebody that did not give a damn about our government, about our elections. It took Trump having to wake my ass up in order for me to start to give a damn again. And so I don't know if that's the answer that you're looking for, but I just want to be honest. I'm not somebody that is kept up with politics over the last 10, 15, 20 years. I'm somebody that's literally just said, my vote doesn't count. And so what does it matter anyway? Trump woke me up. And that's one of the reasons why I'm here, because now I actually do give a damn. And so and I'm sure that there's probably several other people on this call that are in the exact same boat, because the reality that we're facing here is this: most people don't vote. Less people vote in primaries. Even less people than that vote in midterms. Right? That's a problem. So we have a priority problem in this country, and I've also shared this before. And some of you that have heard me speak several times, I bring this up a lot because, again, I'm a product of the system, so I can empathize. 30,000 volunteers is what it takes to run the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo every single year. But the Trump campaign in 2020 in Houston had less than 1,500 volunteers. So we literally live in a society where we value leisure over liberty. We'd rather have fun than have freedom. And especially 2020, we've seen that people are willing to give up a little, basic liberty for temporary safety. And so I'm a product of that system. And so I've been red pilled, and it's been in the last couple of years that I've been red pilled. But that's kind of a long answer to your question. But no, I really haven't kept up with all of that, and it's been more of I'm listening to what my friends are saying, and I've actually learned to not just listen to what my friends say, but to actually do my own research and come to my own conclusions.
Hey, Jameson, from somebody who's in the same exact situation, thank you. I can't even imagine what this must be like for you and your family, especially right now. So on behalf of at least myself, coming from California and wanting to keep Texas, not even red, but just conservative, like just the values that Texas is known for. And I'm just really thankful that you're in here with us. And we will do all that we can to promote and help and, get more recognition to you and to Aaron out, because I think it's super important. And you're right. I used to never vote in the primaries, and Trump completely changed all of that. So again, thank you. And I know, Eli, you've had your hand up, so go ahead.
Thank you very much. Jameson, I like what you're saying. I'm a Texas resident, born and raised. I wanted to know, once upon a time, Dan Crenshaw, man, I liked him a lot. I liked what he was saying, made a lot of sense. What do you think happened to him, and what do you think, what are your biggest gripes about him?
Don't get me lying on what happened to him. I mean, I think we all have our speculation, right? So I liked Dan Crenshaw in the very beginning, but it's not because I knew how he voted. It's because he was a war hero. He's somebody that he's even talked about this, right? The hero archetype, and so he's somebody that I thought was going to be great for Texas. And honestly, it wasn't until, and a funny story. So I didn't realize that he was how he was until I started running for Congressional District 8. So I remember I was speaking to my cousin Wes Verdell, and we were talking about some things, and I'd mentioned Crenshaw, and he was like, "Do you know what Crenshaw's voting record is?" And I was like, "No, but I mean, he's a Navy SEAL, so I mean, of course he's got to be a good dude, right?" So then that's when he taught me about the Liberty score. I went and looked up his Liberty score, and it was a 74%. When I started looking through his voting record, I started looking through the fact that he supported red flag laws, which is the main topic that people talk about, right? That's the main thing, and that's enough for most people. I typically go a little bit deeper than that, but for anybody that doesn't know what red flag laws, if you've ever seen the movie Minority Report with Tom Cruise, that's where you're basically convicted of a crime before a crime's ever been committed. And so, and in this case, it's more has to do with gun confiscation. So, that's definitely been one of the things that I've learned about Dan Crenshaw that's honestly shocked me. And then whenever we saw in September, he voted yes for the National Defense Authorization Act, which did two things. And just to be clear, he voted to send it to the Senate. By the time that it made it back to the House, those two items were stripped out. So I don't want to misinform anybody. However, the fact that he voted yes on it to send it to the Senate also says a lot. And so the two items in the National Defense Authorization Act that I want to bring up is the fact that it would require women to register for the draft. And why do I have a problem with that? Number one, we haven't had a draft since 1973. So why do we need to all of a sudden make that a requirement? Second reason, people say, well, it's equal rights. Well, making something a requirement is not a right. The third issue that I have with that is that if you're requiring both men and women to register for a draft, then and both a mom and a dad get drafted, who's going to be there with the kids? And then people say, well, surely they're not going to draft both the mom and the dad. Well, I mean, if you want to put that much faith and trust in the federal government, then you go right on ahead. But seeing as to how they've been infiltrating our education system and teaching critical race theory, this LGBTQ agenda, and everything else, they've literally been brainwashing our kids and indoctrinating our kids. I don't have any faith, hope, and trust in the federal government. So that's the first thing. Second thing is that there were red flag laws that were actually that were going to be slapped on active military. And here's something else that ought to shock every single one of you. So we want to require women to sign up for the draft. And then in the same piece of legislation, we're going to disarm the military through red flag laws. To me, that makes absolutely zero sense. And so that's definitely something that I have a huge problem with. But I mean, I've got a whole list of his voting record. I've got a list of everything that he's done, his actions, the fact that he didn't stand up for Trump. Whether you like Trump or not is beside the point. If it doesn't take a rocket surgeon to understand that there was something fishy that went on with our elections. And even if I hate the guy, I would want to know that Biden legitimately won. But most of us understand that there was a lot of stuff that went on, and I've got some of the numbers on that. Trump should have won Arizona, and the fact is,
Did we lose him?
Crenshaw and no, I'm still here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, I can hear you.
You're good.
Bobby
So-
Summer.
So the fact is that in August, Crenshaw was at a fundraiser, a GOP fundraiser in Illinois, and he was being confronted by Bobby Piton, and Crenshaw basically said, "Was there voter fraud? Sure, but enough that Trump lost the election illegitimately? Absolutely not. And if you believe that, you're kidding yourself." So here is someone that believes that Trump legitimately lost, whenever the majority of his base believes otherwise, by the way, and a lot of Democrats also believe otherwise, especially the Democrats in the new congressional district too. They were all Trump voters. Most of them were. And then he voted against Trump's impeachment, but he did that right after he praised Liz Cheney for sparing the movement to have Trump impeached. There's a lot of things that have happened with Crenshaw that, the Bible says a double-minded man is unstable in all of his ways. And that's literally what we're seeing right now is we're seeing someone who is unstable. The last thing that I'll point to here, because all this stuff is fresh in my mind right now because a lot of it's recent. But a couple of months ago on his podcast, he literally came out and said that he can't say that he's not a performer because he literally jumps out of airplanes for campaign videos. And then 2 months later, and this was about a month or so ago, 3 weeks to a month ago, he says that we have performance artists and we have legislatures. There are grifters in our midst, and he's talking about the House Freedom Caucus, which whenever you look at the House Freedom Caucus, you look at the Liberty scores of the House Freedom Caucus, most of them maintain an 88% Liberty score and above. So who's the performance artist here? So anyways, that's just a handful of items. If you'd like, I actually on my Twitter, I actually have a list of his voting record as well as the actions that he has taken. So I would definitely invite you to find that and go through that.
Okay.
Jameson, really quickly on what he had said about Dan Crenshaw on his speech, I actually kind of lit him on fire on this. But if you go back and watch what he had said, he said that he lost by, I think, 5 states and hundreds of thousands of votes, which is fundamentally untrue, even by establishment measures. He came within 43,000 votes across 3 states. And so whenever he said that, I went on a pretty successful rant about it, about how whether if he was going to be quote unquote establishment or mainstream, then the fact of what he is saying is fundamentally untrue. And the fact that he would say something, the fact that he would be so disconnected from even the mainstream reality of it being 3 states and 43,000 votes rather than 5 within and of itself depicts how egregiously negligent he would be by mainstream standards alone. Now, with all of the election, other issues within themselves also proving to be that he didn't understand, like the constitutional law, for example, in Wisconsin, or even asking for the proof that, for example, they had a deadline, I believe it was 8 p.m. for November 2nd. How do we know that the votes that came in, even if they were legal votes, how do we know that they were counted within that time frame? Because even if they were legal, if they were not, it's been electoral fraud, even if it wasn't voter fraud. And so I'm running for Congress in Texas 14 with you on your boat, and I think you can run an ad on just that in your constituency that's been really, really successful for me in your area on just that. And those can be extraordinarily effective in terms of returns. I know for me, I targeted what you guys were saying earlier, like you, Summer, I'm originally from Houston, but I was in California for 13 years. And
Okay, hold up,
Yeah.
Ruben. Hold up. What I'm trying to do right now is wind it down with Jameson, and we'll bring you up, brother. But you got to wait your turn. So, does anyone else have any parting questions, or in fact, no one's got their hand raised? So, Jameson, what I want to do is I'm gonna before we turn it over to Aaron. Okay, Summer has her hand up. Go ahead, Summer.
Jameson, what do you need from us? What can we do to help you with your campaign, with getting out there for you? Is there anything that we can do on the ground, or even just in spaces and on different podcasts and whatnot? But let us know what you need from us.
Yeah, absolutely. So just really quick, I just want to say to Ruben, I just followed you, and so follow me back, shoot me a message. I'd love to get any information that you had. So to answer your question, Summer, yeah, so right now, and again, I've talked about this on several different occasions. This has not changed. So Dan Crenshaw has only raised about 0.65% of all of his campaign finances in the district. The majority of his money comes, besides Texas, the majority of his money comes from California and New York, 2 of the most liberal states in the union, and Florida. And so what we really need is our message really is resonating with a lot of people. The greatest struggle that we have being a grassroots campaign, and I'm going to be totally upfront and honest, we've raised more in the last 24 hours then it's honestly, it's been very humbling to see how many people are donating to the campaign. But I will say this, we've only raised roughly about $27,000. Raising money really hasn't been our focus. Our focus has been in building a grassroots team, building a grassroots army. We've really tried to run a very principled campaign, because we do believe that if we run a principled campaign, that it's going to resonate with a lot of folks. The problem is that whenever you're trying to get in front of 700,000 people. And like I said earlier, most people don't vote. Even less people vote in primaries. Less people vote in midterms. And so we really need help with donations. And I hate to say, I hate that it comes down to money. Unfortunately, that's just the world that we live in. Crenshaw's got about $4.2 million cash on hand right now. He's able to hire people to do exactly what he's been doing over the course of the past 3 weeks. He's able to hire people to come after me here on social media. And while that doesn't bother me, what does bother me is that we don't have the resources to make sure that we can get our message from Conroe in the Woodlands and East Montgomery County all the way down to Channelview. And that's what we need more than anything else. And whether it's $1, $5, $10, $100, $1,000, the one thing I want to ask everybody is don't worry about the amount. Start with what you have. That's the main thing. Start with what you have, because if you think that it's never going to be good enough, you'll wind up never giving, and you'll never, you'll never be part of something that's bigger than you. And I can tell you that that's exactly what we're doing here. Saving America and restoring liberty and firing Dan Crenshaw from DC is much bigger than any of us. It's much bigger than me. It's much bigger than you. It's about every single one of us. And I also want to say this one thing. Remember this, is that Aaron is not going to be able to serve you as lieutenant governor unless he has somebody like me that's willing to go to the federal government and make sure the government stays the hell out of his business, which ultimately stays the hell out of y'all's business. And so I just want to make sure that I throw this out there, is that that is what we need. Is we need resources, we need contributions. And so to contribute to the campaign, you can either go to JamesonEllis.com and just hit the contribute button. We also need volunteers, but if you go to my Twitter profile, the pinned at the very top is something that it's a fundraiser where for every $50 you give, you get an entry into a drawing for a Daniel Defense DDM4 V7 AR-15. And we are going to be doing that drawing towards the end of February. And so for every $50 that you contribute, you're going to get an entry into that drawing. And that's just, you can call it a gimmick, call it whatever you want, but a lot of people have absolutely loved it. And the very fact that AR-15 only costs a couple of grand, but people want a chance to win it, is very good for the campaign. And so we feel like it's a value-added proposition beyond just supporting Jameson Ellis and our grassroots campaign. So.
Okay,
Hey,
hold on one second, Jerry.
Okay.
Jameson, you just got some donations because my husband has been wanting that gun, and I've told him he had to wait, and I'm not kidding. He talks about this gun all the time. So now I'm actually going to donate, and hopefully we will win.
Yeah. Hey,
Great
I had a sister-in-law win one of those one time on a not a raffle.
Hey,
Hey,
listen,
Tracy.
he's got to jump, and I know Tracy has a question for him.
Go ahead, Tracy.
Okay, my mic was off. Sorry. Jameson, I sent you an email today. I'm looking to endorse, and so is UCA, who I think talked to you, and I'm on their advisory board. So I'll need all those questions answered, please. It's too many to get into right now. I would just ask you, short answer, so we don't hold up the next candidate. I mean, where do you stand on the social issues? Are you going to be silent on those for the most part, like Dan Crenshaw has, until the political winds kind of blew hard enough for him to say something? Or are you going to be more proactive? I think, I'm a pro-family activist. I shut down Drag Queen Story Hour in Texas by exposing the pedophiles in the program. And, I work to safeguard children in public schools. Where do you stand on the social issues of normalizing transgenderism, sex change operations for minors, and the indoctrination in our public schools, including the LGBTQ, which in my opinion, and those in my organization, which is Mass Resistance, these are sex clubs for minors who cannot even consent. So you can respond to that a little bit.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so some people are going to think I'm an extremist for this, and that's fine. So as far as the LGBTQ agenda, and as far as the agenda in our schools, the sex changes in children, I think that's child abuse. I'm 100% against it. And I do want to make sure that I say this, is that what people do in their personal lives, as long as they are not infringing on the life, liberty, or property of others, I really don't care what people do in their personal lives. However, and I have a very strong stance on these two issues very specifically. Number one, we'll start with the redefining marriage. Again, I don't care what people do in their personal lives, but I am not going to redefine marriage whenever we live in a nation founded on Judeo-Christian values. And I'm not here to get into a debate about that. We can talk about separation of church and state. I actually have a video on that on my Facebook and my YouTube. But marriage was defined before government ever existed, and it's between a man and a woman. Now, it doesn't mean that I'm anti-gay. I have several friends that are gay. It just means that I'm not going to redefine the definition of marriage to suit somebody else's subjective reality. Second thing that I'm also very strong on is abortion. I'm not here to judge anybody that's had an abortion in the past. We've all made mistakes, but I am here to make sure that we protect the sanctity of life moving forward. And the fact of the matter is that we all have an unalienable right to life first, then liberty, and then the pursuit of happiness. And the truth is that we can't truly value liberty if we don't value life. That's why it comes first. And I do believe that life begins at conception. And just for anybody that is not aware of what that means, conception is literally the fertilization of the egg. Okay, and so I want to make sure that I'm crystal clear about that. So those are two social issues that I am not shy to talk about. I think that we are where we are as a country. I think that we've gotten to this place where all of a sudden we're looking at sex changes in kids as being normalized, and we're starting to look at states like California legalizing pedophilia and everything else. That all has to do with getting away from an objective moral standard and this birth of your truth and my truth. There is no your truth and there is no my truth. There is the truth, and then there's your perception of it. And we've gotten away from that. And one last thing that I'll say is that the objective standard that I use is the Bible. As a Christian, the Bible defines what's right and what's wrong. It is not based on any subjective moral standard. It is objective. God defined those things. And the very laws of our nation were founded on three types of yes.
Are you?
Hold up. We have hands raised, so you can wait, Mark. Thank you.
So, and I'll say this, and then unfortunately I'm going to have to go. So if you have a question, somebody can write that down for me and I can get back, but it's 8:01. But I'll just say this really quick, is that the very reason why we have the religious freedom to worship is because we are a Christian nation. Because in Joshua, it says that, choose this day whom you will serve. God gives us the choice. That's why we have religious freedom to worship. The separation of church and state's nowhere mentioned in the Constitution. It was actually written by wow, I'm having a brain fart right now. Thomas Jefferson in a letter to the Danbury Baptists, because in Danbury, Connecticut, they were trying to mandate a specific religion, what we call denominations today. They called religions back then. And he said, we don't do that here. We're not going to mandate religion on anybody, but that doesn't mean that we don't have an objective moral standards. And where I was going with this is the laws of our land were based on three different types of law in the Bible. There's four different types of law in the Bible, but one of them is no longer for us today because it was fulfilled at the cross, and that's the ceremonial law. The other three types of law that we had in the Bible was we had moral law, which is immutable, which means it never changes. Why is it wrong to murder? It's not because I said it is, because God said thou shalt not murder. So we have the moral law, we have judicial law, which can change with the times, and then we also have what are called social compact laws. Social compact laws are basically should the speed limit be 70 miles an hour or 75 miles an hour. Those are the three types of laws that the laws of our land were founded on, and that's why I want to go to Congress to bring the federal government back within that jurisdiction, because right now we've got over 10,000 laws on the books that'll put you in jail. Meanwhile, if you just followed 10 laws that's in the Bible, it would keep you out of it. So anyways, with that being said, unfortunately, I'm out of time. I'm 2 minutes late getting onto a meeting, but I want to say thank you guys so much. Whoever that was that wanted to ask that question, I'm more than happy to answer it. But if you can get that question to whoever else is here, and I'll make sure that I get on top of that. So I want to say thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it. It's always an honor and a privilege. And Aaron, make sure you give Drunken Horse podcast.
Oh,
shout out
don't worry. I
some
was
point.
gonna blast it. I was gonna let them know they can come ask us in another day.
All right. Thank,
All right.
thank you, Jameson. Good luck. Thanks for spending your time with us. Appreciate it. And I know you got to go, so good luck, brother. All right.
All right,
For
thank
those
you.
for those of you guys who just joined, thank you for joining. If you could tweet out this space. Just go down to the Blue Feather and tell the space world we're here. It says Texas Talk, Jameson Ellis, but I'll be changing that title here in a minute, or someone else can. But I appreciate you guys raising your hands and taking your turn. And I'm not going to lie to you, I accidentally, the guy who requested, he dropped down. I accidentally kicked him out of the room. Okay, so I admit it. I accidentally kicked that, and I did not do that on purpose. He dropped down as a speaker. He came back up, requested, and I thought I was hitting the X, and I hit something else. So that is my apology. I own it. I am that guy. So I'd like to introduce our next speaker. Is Aaron Sorrells. He's running for lieutenant governor. Running against Dan Patrick, and I think there's at least 5 other guys that are running in the Republican side of the primary. I'm definitely going to ask him a few questions. I've been in Aaron's spaces before. The guy can talk 100 miles an hour, complete opposite of your host, Jerry.
What?
But I'm very slow talker. I'm not built for this. I already had that disclaimer an hour ago. I'm a nobody, but I'm just trying to get people connected, trying to get people united, trying to show support to other people, supporting one another that is in here, and hopefully, you guys get to speak to maybe, possibly, your next lieutenant governor. So, Aaron, I want you to introduce yourself, and if you can think about it, tell me your why while you're introducing yourself. What is your why? Not just why lieutenant governor, but what's your why, Aaron? Okay, what's your why in life? Okay, so I'm going to turn it over to Aaron. And if you guys, I'm sorry, Aaron, if you guys have questions, be patient with us. I know there's some candidates that are popping in here. We will get to you. Okay, we want you to be able to share your message. It's just kind of this is kind of the big guy right now at the moment. All right, so we need to let him speak, answer some questions. And then you guys can come in and you can kind of get your message out real quickly also. All right, go ahead, Aaron. Thank you very much.
So you're asking my why of why I'm running, or why my whole life? Which why are you going there?
What's your why, Aaron? What's your why?
My why? Okay. So first off, I'll go ahead and plug it since Jameson didn't get to plug that. So anybody that wants to have questions from here, Jameson, after this is over, not only will J-Hope be doing other ones, but he can't always have us on. Obviously, he's trying to get some other people too. Jameson and I have realized that we can utilize this a lot for our campaign. So we're going to be doing a play on our name. So Jameson Whiskey, and then Sorrells is actually Sorrel Horse. So we are going to call it the Drunken Horse Podcast because, well, if you don't like that, you're probably not voting for our type of people anyway. So we're going to be doing Twitter Spaces pretty much almost Monday through Friday after our campaign events, and we'll be glad to answer plenty of questions. So you'll be able to ask us anything down the road. And we will also be hosting candidates and other things because we're trying to do the same thing for other people that like J-Hope is doing for us. So, and Summer too. Thanks, both of y'all. So about me. So why I'm doing this, I ran for lieutenant governor because as a small business owner, I watched our state government bend over backwards to the federal government. Whether it was Trump or whether it's Biden, it's irrelevant. Nobody has the right to overdo our Constitution. And when the governors hook, line, and sinker do exactly what they're told and violate all of our constitutional rights, then it pisses me off. And so, you look at the mask mandates, and then the vaccines came in. You looked at what they were doing to people not being able to work. So now you're talking about supply chain issues, and you just go down the line. And then ultimately what happened is 4 months ago, I have 3 boys, a 14, 11, and an 8-year-old. And my 11-year-old broke his foot in jiu-jitsu. And I went to the Cook Children's Facility in Fort Worth, Texas, and they looked me straight in the face, watched an 11-year-old boy crying in severe pain, and said, if you don't put a mask on, we're not going to help him. And I don't know about anybody in here that has children, but the last thing you do is tell a parent that they can protect their child. I have 2 medical conditions. I cannot wear a mask. And as I inform them, they take so damn long in these hospitals that I'll be in the hospital next door. And who's going to take care of my child at that point? They said, it's not our problem. Put on a mask. Two admin people later, 3 nurses later, gone back to the doctors and the rest of the admin staff. They said, it's company policy. Wear a mask. We're not denying you service. You're choosing not to wear a mask. So for anyone that questions, oh, why don't you just put on the mask and protect your child? First, I shouldn't have to be in that position. Second of all, I can no longer take my 3 boys to Cook Children's facilities anywhere in Fort Worth, Texas, let alone probably any other hospitals in Dallas, Fort Worth in general. So I have now lost my parental rights. I can no longer protect my children at a hospital. And I was told by multiple people, including big radio show host named Mark Davis in Fort Worth, DFW, that it's not the hospital's problem if you have 14 medical conditions. That's your fault. Find someone else to take your kid to the hospital. And when I confronted him with the fact that, what about my employee that's a single dad that has nobody else to take them? He said, that's not this hospital's problem. And it took everything in me not to let into Mark Davis and make almost a fool of myself on that radio show. But the fact is, this is what we got to. We've lost humanity. We've lost everything. And so I looked at everything, and I looked at the governor candidates, and I said, I like Chad Prather, Don Huffines, Alan West. I'm not going to challenge them. And so I looked at the legislature, and I said, you know what? I don't even want to be one of the conservative guys that gets pushed around, because that's what happens when you run as a House rep or you run as a state senator. They just shove you around, and then they redistrict you if it's that time of season. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to go for the next most powerful position, and actually technically the most powerful position, which is lieutenant governor, because what people don't realize is he's a snake in the grass. The guy that holds the ability to control all bills that get in and off the Senate's desk, the ones that control what gets to Abbott, is your lieutenant governor. But if you pay attention to Texas politics, you only see Dan Patrick when he's either on Fox News crying how he can't do anything and he's so helpless, or when he's sitting there because a bill got passed and he wants to show a smiling face. So the guy that's known in Texas as ruling the Senate with an iron fist, and he reminds everybody that it's a members club and you're to protect the club. If your bills aren't getting passed and your mandate issues aren't being addressed, and your executive branch is writing mandate after mandate after mandate and getting away with it, then you should probably stop looking at Abbott while he is the tyrant and he needs to go. You should probably start looking at the guys that actually let it all happen. Because see, we were taught, and the way our system is founded, is that there are 3 branches for a reason. They keep each other in check. So when Abbott ordered those mandates, the legislature should have said, no, you don't have authorization for that. That's not happening. And the AG should have said the same thing. No, you can't do that. I'm not enforcing those. So get bent. But he didn't. None of them did, which means they are complicit and they are working together. And if that's the case, they all need to go. So that's why I'm running for lieutenant governor. And ultimately, what I want to do is go in there, fix this crap, and get out. I don't want to be a politician. Do not ever call me one. Just because I'm running for office doesn't make me a politician. I can be a statesman. And I want to get in and I want to get out, because the longer you're in there, you become corrupt. You become detached from the citizenship. You don't understand reality anymore. I mean, Abbott hasn't been in the real world in 30 plus years. Patrick's like over 20 years. And they don't have a clue what's going on. They live in their little bubbles. So, you know, we've got to get things back to where they are. And you know, I look at things, I guess I'll try to answer Jay Holt's why. Everything in life, everything we do in life should be representation as a Christian of what our morals are and our values are. And our government doesn't represent our Christian values, doesn't represent our morals. It's pure ass evil at this point between the child gender modifications. I'll answer that right now for Tracy. Child gender modifications, it's child abuse. You look what we're doing with the adoption agency, how we're brokering children in Texas, the family court system, they're destroying the nuclear family across the board. We have a broken system in Texas that is doing nothing but peddling people and families in the name of trying to make money. Yet we're always broke and we keep asking for more money. It's funny how that works. It's almost like they just, you know, leeches just sucking you dry everywhere they can. So, you know, we need to get things back. We need to get back to our morals. You know, I'm the number one terrorist target in this country because as Christians, we've sat around and watched this happen. So, you know, Jesus flipped tables, he cracked whips, and he died speaking the truth against all the Pharisees. You know who Jesus related to? The common man. He didn't relate to the guys in charge that wanted to dictate to people. But yet now we look at our leaders like we have to listen to them. And then we have our Christian leaders telling us, well, it tells you to obey your government. No, that's not exactly what it says. And I'm trying to, you know, I can only turn my cheek so many times. I'm running out of cheeks to turn at this point. So we need to get back to what we believe in, standing up for what we do. And if that means dying on the cross, then so be it, because I have an afterlife that should be very good if we follow the right morals. So I don't care what happens to me. My job is to stand up and fight for the people and to represent you. And that's ultimately why I'm doing all this.
Dude, you answered it. I like it. That's good. People need to know your why, especially when you're dealing with other people. Absolutely. So I have a question for you, Aaron. In fact, I'd like to say I can answer the question, but I know there's a lot of people in here that may be hesitant to maybe ask this question. What's the lieutenant governor do? What's his main purpose? What's his maybe 1, 2, 3 main jobs as a lieutenant governor?
So lieutenant governor is different than almost every other state. I think there may be one that's similar. Unlike every other state where they're basically a VP position, we are not. So it would be the president of the Senate. So when you look at what happened in New Jersey, where they're like, oh, we got rid of the guy in charge of the Senate. Well, that doesn't happen here in Texas by getting rid of a senator. So Dade Phelan in the House is elected to be the House Speaker. In every other case, we elect the leaders of the Senate and the House. Not in Texas. The lieutenant governor is the president of the Senate. So I dictate the committees. I handle funding. I handle calendars for the Senate. If it doesn't get to Greg Abbott's desk, it's because the lieutenant governor didn't let him get it there. So, and then I'm also partially executive. So I would be acting VP, like I am a VP kind of in that situation. So if the governor's out of state, I'm acting governor. If something was to happen to him, I would assume control, things like that. So that's kind of your 1, 2, 3.
Right.
President of the Senate, chair, handling all the committee chairs, and then I'm technically VP at the same time.
Yes, and I just kind of wanted to maybe lead you into something there. When you see our Republican priorities, so the GOP in Texas, we're going to get to vote on that in March, but we get to vote for what our priorities are going into the next legislative session. And I've seen you tweet about this. I've recently actually tweeted about it too, because I'm just tired of the lies. But when the Republicans hold the governor, the House and the Senate, we should be able to pass any priority we write down, anything we put down. I actually know exactly one of your tweets. I saw it talking about our 8 priorities that we went into with. Now we had more than that, but we whittled it down to like 8. And we really only passed about 3.5 of those. And when I say half, yeah, we got some things done with abortion, but not our actual priority that was listed. So when you say that, hey, you're the guy who is over the committees, you get to appoint the committeemen, and you're actually over the calendars. When these things don't make it through the Senate, it is all on the lieutenant governor, is it not?
That is correct. So let's go through that real quick. My priority to get SB 1 through SB 8 done for the first time ever. It does not get done. There were over 4,000 bills put in between the House and Senate. I think Senate was like 2,600. I posted the other day, and I think the House was 4,800 or something. I can't remember off the top of my head right now. The fact is, if there is that many bills being put into the sessions, why is it that we can't get the 8 that the people asked for? So what Jo described is correct. So the people of Texas put all their issues up. They go to meetings, and ultimately they come up with the 8 top priorities. My goal and my plan is that when I walk in day 1, the first session, SB 1 through SB 8 will be sitting, the bills to handle those issues will be sitting on my desk, and I'm not going to let anything else off my desk until those issues are done. And everybody in the states is like, you can't do that. No, you can't do that. You're not going to make any friends. I don't care. If you say you represent the people of Texas and you can't get 8 of their priorities done, but you can deal with 4,000 other bills, then you don't give a crap about the people of Texas. So not only do I want the 8 done, but I want to go back and get 87th legislature done, because I have a funny feeling most of those are going to come right back up. But let's go through the 3 we got. We didn't even get 3.5. Election integrity was one of the ones we got. I guarantee nobody in this room believes our elections in Texas are secure now. Oh, and by the way, they diluted that bill. And then, at the very last second, they were like, whoops, we moved the felony status down to a misdemeanor. By the way, Dan Patrick came out and bragged. So did Ken Paxton and Greg Abbott that they caught it. And then what happened in Special 3? After they talked about catching it, did they fix it? Nope. But you saw it in the media that they found it, and then you all forgot about it. Well, at least they hoped that we did. So we still didn't fix it, even though they found out. So we didn't get election integrity properly done. So we didn't even get one of that one done. Abolish abortion. We didn't get abolish abortion. We got the heartbeat bill. The heartbeat bill, while it is a fantastic bill and it has done a good job, unfortunately, we created a whole new can, and that's why the Supreme Court let it go for the left, because it created a new version of standing across this country. And now California has already said they're going to use it to go after gun manufacturers. So instead of challenging Roe v. Wade head on and standing up for the right to life, we tried to let lawyers weasel around it. And now we opened up a new can of worms for standing. Good job. Way to go. We still didn't challenge Roe v. Wade. And by the way, the left isn't done going after it, and they're still planning on aborting babies. So we didn't do what we should have done. And the third one is constitutional carry. It's permitless carry. You know, the thing is, if you're going to name a bill constitutional carry, why don't you actually go back and give me my constitutional right back? Why are there so many violations still? The fact is, because Dan Patrick is actually paid off by the Houston Police Union and the Dallas Police Union, and it's why you never saw that bill pass. But because of election season, he knew he had to pass it, so they put a bunch of violations in there that made the unions happy. We didn't even get 3 out of 8. I would say we got maybe 1.5 combined between them all. So there you go.
Yeah. So,
Oh.
Sorry, am I there? Okay. Good. I've actually got a tweet prepared a couple of days ago for that. Because nope, sort of, but it's all one of those things. So you went through those, and I appreciate that. And without a doubt, 100%, I believe what you just said is if you don't get elected, that's why, Aaron. They know that you're coming to do the job. And
Same reason I'm not getting money, because they know they can't buy my soul.
Yeah, that's where I was going. They're going to be funding this freaking Patrick so much because they're like, no, we can't have this, because if this happens and we're all put on the spot, now we got to be on record, and then we're all going to lose our jobs in 2 years. So they play the game like they have been. So, I'm right there with you. Queen, you've had your hand up. Come on.
Hello, Mr. Sorrells. I'm from Texas. I live on the border. And I want to know, we have a big problem down here.
Is it me? I'm not hearing anything.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
I'm
I can hear
sorry.
you.
Oh,
I can
hold on.
hear you.
I think it's
Mr.
me.
Sorrells, can you hear me? Okay. So I'm from Texas.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Hello?
Jay, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Aaron. Can you not hear Queen?
Hello.
Oh, can't.
Oh,
I can hear
no.
you.
Okay,
can't
I
hear us.
lost. I had to kill my Wi-Fi. My Wi-Fi screwed up, so I didn't hear anything
Oh.
she said. So go
I
ahead.
got you.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Okay, so I'm from Texas. I live down here on the border of Mexico. I know that where you're aware that there's a big fiasco going on here. We have people coming in all the time. They're not allowed to do any drone over it anymore or report on it really. But we have camps and we have all kinds of things going on. I noticed that they sent the National Guard in. I was going by one of the openings in the wall, and there was one little National Guard sitting there with no vehicle, just sitting there in the dirt. I don't think that's going to do it. And I'm wondering what your stance is on this situation down here.
Well, that's gotten even worse. One of the guys with National Guard tweeted out the other day to Chad and Alan West, and I saw it, and so I actually added to it. Not only are those guys down there not prepared to even protect against the border, they don't have any winter gear. They're so interested in playing games with the politics with Fox News right now and making it look like they're doing something. They left those men down there and women down there without cold weather gear for 20-degree weather in Texas. So
Well, it's 90 degrees down here, but
but some of the areas
yeah.
weren't, and there were guys who were freezing their butts off, and so he posted out trying to get help because the governor's not doing it. So not only we're not defending the border, we're also leaving these guys screwed up, and we're destroying their families because we're not letting them go home. There's no set orders. They don't know when they're going to go back and see their families, and they're doing the same with DPS. It's a joke. But yeah, so as far as the border goes, I've been there twice. One time was actually in a bit area. I went out in the middle of the night with body armor and my AR and a group of militia that was authorized by the sheriff, and that was in Kinney County. And then I've also been down to McAllen and Mission and watched the DOT buses driving in and out all day, and watched the if anybody looks at that picture that I posted the other day, where you see where Trump's wall stopped and then it's just a chain link fence. It's like, whoo, that's a good defense. So yeah, so what I would do differently is this. Now, I'm not the governor, so I can't do exactly everything as far as an executive goes, but my job would be to fund the border wall. So this is my plan: to fund the border wall, get it completed, and not the version that Abbott's running around joke of a plan, but actually Trump's wall and finish the job. Then the second thing would be I would be funding the state guard, the Texas state guard, not the National Guard, so that it's under Texas control. And then on top of that, if need be, I would fund any additional militia to fill the gaps and help protect the Texas citizens. And the next thing is we need to shut down the state highways and the state controlled roads to keep these federal buses from moving. Because what they're doing is they're basically taking over state land and they're making it federal, and then they're bringing all these people in through the Border Patrol. And if anybody's not aware, whatever you think you see about the Border Patrol, when they put up these pictures and they say, "Look what we've done," I was standing there when that happened, and the news crews dropped up, didn't walk down where we were, where the real bad stuff was happening, where National Guard was helping the coyotes off. They were standing there. They took all their photo ops and showed the Border Patrol with all these people lined up. By the way, they all freely walked up, and you can go to my Facebook page and scroll back to the beginning. It's on there. I have an hour recorded. And then they recorded that part, didn't go down in there and the real stuff going on. And then they left to go report on how Abbott was protecting the border and Border Patrol was doing their job. These people were walking in like they were at a line at Six Flags. They weren't afraid of anything. So you would then shut down the buses, shut down all the traffic so they can't get over to the Federal Air Force Base and fly them out. You wouldn't allow them to move off that land and basically cause a problem from there to keep it where you can't move. And then I guess in the end, I would say is if that's not enough and we don't have a governor that's willing to do his job, then I'm going to do whatever I can in my power. And if that means a constitutional crisis as far as the Texas Constitution is concerned, then I'll do it, because we can no longer let people just invade our borders and do what they're doing, because it's not only just the invasion, it's a humanitarian crisis. It's child trafficking. It's trafficking women. It's pathetic what they're doing. And for anybody that's like, oh, it's compassion. We watched a 1-month-old baby get pulled off of a boat, and a woman randomly runs up and says, "Oh, that's my baby." Compassion? Yeah, I understand these people are coming across, and anybody would try to get to a better life in America if they could, but it's not compassion when you're letting kids be drugged and trafficked, and the women be trafficked and sold into basically modern day slavery in our country. Because what we want to just let people come across. So it's not even just about the invasion, it's about the humanitarian. If you can sit there and allow that to happen, then you don't care about humans any more than you care about anything else. So it's got to be shut down, and we need to stop this process of going on, and we need to protect not only our citizens but the people that are being trafficked across our border.
Very good. There is one more issue that you didn't hit on, and I don't know if you're aware of it or not, but they get visas to come over, maybe a 24-hour visa, 40-hour visa. They're checked when they come in, but nobody checks those visas when they leave. They overstay all their visas. They can go back 6 months later and then come right back, living here, anchor babies going on, all of this stuff. Nobody ever has paid any attention to that. And I feel for the people there. Listen, if I were starving, I'd probably swim the river too. I needed to feed my family, I would. But at the same time, there's some charity organizations here that have these people in deplorable conditions, that the health department, no one's doing anything about any of that. And it is a big crisis. It's a humanitarian crisis. And not only that, we have drugs coming over, fentanyl, everything just pouring across the border, and no attention on it because, like you said, the media is not, they're picking and choosing what they want to report on. And then the Border Patrol is not allowing them. They have a new, I guess, order that they can't have the media there. So, yeah, I'd appreciate anything you can do for us down here and to keep everybody safe.
Hey, just curious, where
Thanks
do you,
for taking
do
my
you, what, do you mind telling me
I'm-
what city you're in?
I'm in Hidalgo County,
Okay.
and right on the border. So,
Okay. Well, I'm coming
yeah.
down to the border, so if you want to message me, I'm trying to just go around and speak to people instead of trying to do speeches, try to sound like a
Oh.
politician going down there. So if you want to message me, I'd love
Yeah.
to see if when I'm in the area, we can try to meet with some
Absolutely,
people
I
too.
can
So yeah.
show you where some places are.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Yeah, and I
Okay.
agree on the visas. We do need to shut that down too. But I mean, first thing we need to do is stop the invasion and protect everything. But I need to make sure everybody understands why we're not stopping the border. When Biden took office, he went into the UN Open Border Pact, and so did Mexico. When we joined in the open border pact, Mexico can't stop them because the UN says otherwise. And so both countries are in there. That's why now all these caravans are coming that weren't coming under Trump. It's not just about what the U.S. is doing. It's also about what Mexico's doing and the fact that we're basically selling our country over to the UN. So that's another problem.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Sorry, guys. Co-host, y'all can jump in anytime. You know me. Hey,
I was about to take over for you. I was like, you want me to just tell Scott to go?
Yeah, go ahead, bro. Scott, you got a question? Go ahead, bro.
Hey, Aaron. I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad you're speaking to everybody to let them know where you stand on issues and stuff. And it's a great thing for everybody to listen to people that are running for whatever. And I greatly appreciate it. I greatly appreciate Jameson doing the same thing. But like Queen was saying a while ago, we need to start thinking about all these people coming in here and the Biden administration, and like y'all were saying a while ago, they're doing legalized human trafficking is what's really going on, and that really needs to stop. And I hope when you get into office that that's going to be one of your top priorities, along with trying to get some of these DPS guys, some of these other counties and stuff that are lacking in and troopers and stuff, that we need to start stacking up on that too. So
we don't need to stack the troopers, because what they're doing with the troopers right now is what people don't realize. They're pulling the troopers from all over Texas. So, like, I'm driving around the whole state, and I can pretty much drive 95 miles an hour, 100 miles an hour all I want, because there's no DPS on the roads. So the problem is they yanked all the DPS down there as this game. Remember all the stuff that happened with the Haitians, right? So they yank all the DPS down there. By the way, when they tell you they can't afford it, we're paying stupid amounts of overtime to these DPS guys. We're not allowing them to be consistently in their areas. So, like, up in the Panhandle right now, the sheriff only has like 2 guys. And he had 2 DPS guys that helped cover the other freeways and the other main roads in and up and through the Panhandle. Now he doesn't have those DPS. So now our roads are being left open. So all these guys have to do, all this trafficking, all they have to basically do is get past the first section of the border, get past the main section where DPS is all in mass quantity, and it's free reign at that point. There's nothing stopping them. So, I mean, we need to get our DPS back to doing their job. And that's where we need to fund the state guard. And we need to, like I said before, including militia if needed, to actually do the job and deputize them. And I will tell you what you were talking about, where they're not protected. So that's where I was in Kinney County. We went down there to be the part of the commissioner's court where they were going to deputize 10, 20, 30 guys, and that hadn't been done in over 100 years in Texas. And it ended up getting down to 10. After we left there, they still haven't been deputized because Abbott, the Border Patrol, and DPS all called Sheriff Bradco and told him that if he finished deputizing those 10 militia, they were going to pull every Border Patrol and every single DPS out of his county and leave him wide open. That's what your government is doing right now. That's the people that everybody wants to say, oh, there's nothing wrong with that, but he's a great guy. Really? Because I've never seen a small town in Texas that at 5 o'clock in the afternoon on a 90-degree day, there aren't children outside playing. I was there for 2 days and I didn't see a single child outside that entire time, because as soon as they let their children out by themselves, they will be snatched and they will be trafficked. That's what we're willing to do. That's how we feel about our fellow citizens. That's what our government's doing.
Well, let me ask you this: Have you talked to Don Huffines at all? I mean, have you looked at his?
I've talked to everybody. I'm in contact with. I actually had to deal with Don Huffine's campaign today over something. Another campaign is attacking me on, and anyway, I won't go through that. But yes, I talk to these guys all the time. So I'm more aligned with Chad Prather personally, just so you know, because that question's probably going to come up at some point.
All right, so
Okay.
I got a lead-in question there for you, Aaron. And by the way, if anyone else has a question for Aaron, just request to speak. We'll try to get you up here if I don't mess something up. But Texas. I've heard that, Prather, Huffines, West. I've heard them. I actually saw the one that I believe Daniel Miller hosted for them, town hall. Where you stand on Texas, and And because you know you're going to get asked every time, are you going to go actively after it? Something that we need to look at to just wake up people across the United States. Where are you at with Texas?
Well, let me. Okay, we'll see how much longer Daniel Miller wants to keep having this question at things. I'm trying to be nice. Okay, let me ask you a question. I was in a room last night in a debate forum, and everybody can go watch my Rumble channel. It's look up Sorrels for Texas on Rumble. I live streamed it. You can't see the audience, but in a massive area in Decatur, Texas, which is hardcore for Texas, I asked that room to raise their hand because it's not about what I think about Texas. It's about what you, the Texans, are going to vote on. And in a room that was all grassroots, that was probably 30% minimum of hardcore Texas supporters, you know how many people raised their hand? 30% of that room. If you can't get 90+% of a grassroots room to raise your hand for secession, then Texas is dead in the water, because when it goes to the general public, it's going to get 15% or less. So the Texas movement, as Daniel Miller wants to push it, is not going to work. Plain and simple. And here's my problem with the concept. If you think that the United States of America is going to let Texas walk away freely, I got some oceanfront property in Arizona to sell you. We are the most powerful state in this union, and they are never going to let us walk away freely. And by the way, let's assume they do let you walk away freely. You now have 49 states that are hardcore leftists that have China walking right up on all three sides of your border. They're going to pull all air support out of this state. They're going to block the Gulf of Mexico, and they're going to starve our asses out. Okay. So if you want to talk about peaceful secession and you're not ready to have the conversation about what could happen if there isn't a peaceful secession, then you're willing to be, as a leader, you're willing to put everybody's life online in Texas for your dream. And that is not a responsible leadership, plain and simple. Because here's the other problem with it. I go around the states and I'm getting told constantly, remember, 50 to 60% of our military has always been Texas. There are as many people that have bled red, white, and blue for the United States of America as they have Texas. And 49 states have conservatives in majority of those areas that are looking for Texas and the states like Florida and Texas to stand up to the federal government, return the power back to the state sovereignty where it belongs, and give these people a fighting chance, because their states don't have the power that we have. Texans are not quitters. I'm tired of the attitude that we're supposed to just walk away and secede and everything's good at that point. Really? You want to walk away right now with Greg Abbott in charge? Greg Abbott's as big a tyrant as Biden is. So what, you want to trade DC cesspool for Austin cesspool? Like, let's be honest. And so the thing is, I don't want to hear this anymore about willing to cede. If the federal government continues to overstep their bounds, then we are looking at civil war again. We aren't looking at secession. We're looking at unifying all the red states against an overreaching federal government and say, we've had enough of your shit and we're going to go back and we're going to deal with it. Because that's what's going to happen. Because history tells you what happens when you secede. You know what happens? We did it in the Civil War. It wasn't about racism. We tried to secede in the South, and the federal government said, the hell you are. We can't afford to lose the resources of the South. And so they blamed it on the racism. They went after that, and they came back after the South. That's what ultimately caused the Civil War. That was the main cause of it. So history tells you what the United States is going to do when you go for that. So if we want to talk it, fine, let's have that conversation, but let's not believe the pipe dream that it's going to happen peacefully. And we're all just going to march off in our merry little way down the yellow brick road and everything's going to be nice and fine. And that's my problem with it. And that's where I stand. So I want to see Texans fight for not only Texans, but for the rest of the conservatives and my families that live in the other parts of this country too.
Right. And just for those of you who haven't been paying attention, on record, all three of those gubernatorial guys have basically said, well, they have said, we take it to the citizens. They vote on it. I will support what the state of Texas wants. And Aaron said that also. So
yes, and by the way, I have signed that petition, and
sure.
I will allow it to get out for the people to vote.
Yeah. And Aaron, correct me if I'm wrong. The petition that they've had for years, isn't it still under 500,000 people? Isn't it like 400,000 signatures?
No, he only needed 80,000 signatures. Now, last I heard, he's probably around 30 to 40,000.
Oh, I got you. Okay, oh shoot.
No,
Yeah,
he claimed. Daniel Miller
at.
shows on his website that he has 400,000 supporters. That's where the 400,000 number comes from.
That's what it is on his website.
Yeah,
supporters, but that's not the petition. That's right.
Correct.
It's not big. He tries it all the time over here in my neighborhood in the Woodlands, and it's like nobody shows.
I said, I'm not against the idea, but I do have a problem with the idea that everywhere we go, everybody talks about it like as if he's the only one that has the authority to talk about secession. Like if you don't talk about Texas, well, then it's, then what's because one guy makes a movement in 1996 called Texas Nationalist Movement that owes you the right that all of us have to bow down to you as the leader if we secede. That's the other problem with it. Like he doesn't just get to take over as the defunct, de facto leader of the secession movement if we get there because he started a movement. That's the other issue with the whole concept.
I got you. I wanted to ask you a quick question before I let Sheila. Do you lieutenant governors have anything in the works as far as either a roundtable, town hall, or debate?
I mean, we got forums constantly. We just had one last night. We've got, I'll have them on my website. We got another one, I think the 11th. And then the 17th, one's in Cook County, it's in Gainesville, one's in Sherman. And then we've got a few more coming further south. And we'll probably end up some more in February. But they get kind of old because honestly, they're not debates, they're forums.
Right.
And we get almost the same freaking questions every time. So I mean, it's like how many times can you re-answer the same question? I mean, and I'm live streaming them. So the fact is that you can watch these every time and not be like, well, it wasn't in my area, so I didn't hear the answers. So I'm live streaming. That's actually why I set up my Rumble now, and I'm live streaming at every event so people can watch them. Because like last night, they didn't live stream it.
So, okay, there you go. So that answers a couple of questions that I had as far as how do we observe those? And they've done the same thing with the governors. Some of them were small, and most of them are small. But they'll live stream most of them. Okay, Sheila, go ahead. Gotta press the microphone, Sheila.
Sorry, my mic. Thanks for letting me speak. I'm sorry I forgot to press it. I have to admit that I have not been as ardent as I should have been as far as following politics. But I've realized in this last year that that's exactly why we are where we are at today, is because more people are like me. Now, I have to ask a question of Aaron. In the governorship or even the lieutenant governor, is it this? So when you run and you're running against the lieutenant governor, if there are more people running also as for the more Republicans, say there's 3 Republicans running for lieutenant governor, does it get down to the point that there's just one Republican and one Democrat?
Well, yeah,
the
that's
way
what
the
primary
president
is for.
does.
That's what the primary is for. Think of the primary like a playoff. So the
Okay.
primary is where you pick the candidates that you want to go to the Super Bowl, right? I mean, or World Series, whatever sport you want to pick. So the primary that's the misconception. Everybody says, I'm not splitting the vote and giving Beto the win. You're not giving Beto the win. What we're doing is we're going to pick the Republican that's actually a Republican to go to the general.
Okay, see, I wasn't sure if it worked that way I knew it did as in the presidential elections, but I didn't know if it worked at the state levels. So that's very comforting to know, because I was really concerned that if we split the Republican vote, that we were just going to end up with Beto, and that would just be horrible.
Sheila, that's a good question, because I've realized that the more people I talk to, they kind of think the same thing. In my opinion, the more competition, the better. If you don't want the incumbent, that means there's going to be more votes taken away from him in the primary. I'm sorry if I misspoke. That way, there's more. Yeah, it may narrow the chances down for that one person, that's trying to beat the incumbent. But it's definitely going to help. If you're tired of the incumbent, the more competition, the more votes, the more people. There's a Chad Prather bandwagon. There's a Don Huffines bandwagon. There's a Alan West bandwagon. Then there's others. Rick Perry. Not that Rick Perry.
He was actually in the event last night. That's the first time I've seen him.
Yeah.
Is he really considering running again?
No, it's a guy named Rick Perry. It's not the actual Rick Perry.
Oh, okay. I was gonna.
Which honestly, that hurts Abbott more than anybody. That's the funny thing, because people will be like, Rick Perry, and click it. So, but oh man, you let me lose my thought. I was going to say something about what you were saying, Jay, and I'm trying to remember now what it was about. I can't remember now.
Maybe competition. I don't know. 501st. Let's go.
Okay. I have another question, and it's regarding. I just became aware of a lot of these things, but there's a huge communist party that is active, very active in the state of Texas.
Yeah, they're called the Democrats.
No, worse than that. I mean, worse than that.
I mean, not really. They are communists.
Well, you're right. You're absolutely right about that. But so, I mean, why is that allowed? I mean, I know that we're supposed to be a free country, but I mean, it just bothers me immensely that things like that are allowed.
Well,
And-
I think if you didn't have the propaganda, if you get back to getting rid of the propaganda laws, here's the thing: as long as people are always going to have belief systems. If they're crazy enough to think they'd be, the point is if we stop censoring people and let the free ideas flow, the left would never win because their ideas don't hold up to actual logic. So I'm less worried about Communist Party trying to form. I'm more worried about the Islamic terrorists and all those groups that are being allowed through CARE and all those organizations that are actively having the money to invade our systems, kind of like China is, and actually destroy the fabric of America through the education and everything else. Those people bother me more than some fringe Communist Party group, because in reality, communists infiltrated the Democrat Party a long time ago.
Well, I agree with you on all of those other points. But that brings me to something else, which is the what's her name? Ilhan Omar.
Mhm.
I mean, so this is, it bothers me. What Islamic country can you go to where any form of their government has an American person in it? And I know she got voted for, and I realized that was a democratic thing that was done. But I'm not racist. I swear to God. I am all for America. America.
First thing we got to do though is people got to start voting before we can get to those issues, because you got to change out a lot of people that are going to stand up against these people. So there's only so much we can do about the Ilhan Omars when we can't even get people to come out and vote. Even vote, let alone. We need a lot of more people to vote now than ever, because we got to beat the electronic system so that we can get enough people in to actually make a difference. So, at first I would say let's focus on getting these races won. And then once we get the people in, we should have the right kind of people to go in there and fight against that kind of mentality. So,
okay.
But yeah.
So how do we get people out? I mean,
go and tell everybody you know.
This is what we're doing. This is what we're doing, Sheila.
Call 5 and 10 of your friends on March 1st at the primary and say, are you going to vote? If not, you better get your butt up here. So, yep.
Well, you got it then. That's what I'll do. Because I live in a very small town. There's only 600 and
drag them all 600.
But you're right. That's exactly what I'll do. Well, thanks for answering my questions. And, I appreciate your time. And I'm going to look into you, because I wasn't even aware of you. So I will definitely visit your site and see what you're all about.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sheila. That's why we do these spaces. 501st, and then Rocco, and then if there's a couple other people in here that want to get their message out about running for office here in Texas, just DM me, request speaker, and we'll move on. 501st.
Okay. Hi, Aaron. I have two questions I just want to ask real quick, and then I'll just let you answer. The first one is, who do you really think should be the next governor of Texas? Is the first question. The second question is, I've been involved in things like precinct chairman and stuff like that in Texas, and actually ran once. But there's so many politicians I've seen that talked a great talk, and then somehow they became corrupted once they get in office. How are you going to make sure that doesn't happen to you?
Well, first, let's answer your first question. Chad Prather's who I'm voting for, and I'll tell everybody this, and anybody that's a Don Huffines or Alan West fan, get over it. I don't care what you are, because the fact is, if I tell you anybody but Abbott, that's a lie, because I still have to walk into the freaking booth and I still have to pull the trigger for somebody just like you do. So if I can't tell you honestly who I'm voting for right now, then I'm already lying to you. So I need to be honest with you and stop trying to play this ABA crowd. In the end, Chad Prather, Alan, or Don, if they go up against Abbott, whoever's left, I will vote to whoever is left against Abbott, because back to the conversation, that's what I was going to bring up earlier, J-Ho. I'm honestly worried that if Abbott is in there, there's going to be a Beto win, not because people will vote for Beto over Abbott, but I've listened to hundreds of Republicans say, if I'm going to have a Democrat in office, then I sure as hell ain't going to vote for Abbott, and I'll let it see what happens. So if you think that leaving Abbott in is safe, I have a rude awakening for you. The Democrats are going to cheat everywhere they can, and there's a lot of people that are sick and tired of the Republican leadership that's stabbing us in the back everywhere. So be very careful what you wish for by just saying, well, let's go with the safe bet of Abbott, because I promise you he's not that safe. So, and my reason for picking Chad Prather, so I preface this too, is this. I don't want anybody that's been in the system. Don has been in the system. Alan West is the lieutenant colonel, a little bit of a political situation in the military, and then he's also been in office before. I want someone that woke up one day like Chad and myself did and said, you know, enough is enough. I don't care about my career anymore. I'm going to go fix this and get the hell out when I'm done. That is Chad. He's just like everybody else. Yeah, he's got some money because of what he does. We don't hold that about, I don't hold capitalism against anybody. But he woke up one day and said enough is enough, and he did it months before anybody else did it. So that is my choice. That's why I'm going for it. If you don't like that, fine. That's why we have three good guys. We've never had three. We never get a qualified candidate against Abbott, let alone three qualified candidates with three completely different personalities. We've never seen this before, so I don't go against any one of them, but that is my personal pick. So that's that answer. As far as how am I going to be different? So I woke up one day after all this stuff happened with my son, and I looked at my wife and I said, I'm going to run. And my wife said, why are you going to do that? Nobody likes you. And then I looked at her and I said, I love you too. And in the end, the point is that I don't care about making friends. I have family at home. I have plenty of friends myself. I have very close friends. I don't need anybody in the state government. I don't need anybody in this room to be my friend. I need you to expect me to do my job. And if I don't do my job, hold my feet to the fire and vote my ass out next time. That is my job. My job is not to go up there and make friends. And so I can endorse people 20 years later and say, well, I know he's a violating the Constitution, but I'm going to go ahead and endorse him. That's what Ted Cruz said about Greg Abbott. That is not our job. So what's different in me? Listen to how I talk and tell me if I sound like anybody that's going up there. Jay, you've heard it. You said it earlier. The reason I'm not getting money is because they realize right now that I am willing to say things that nobody else says. I'm telling you the plans that I'm going to do. I'm not saying, oh, I got a comprehensive plan. Go look at my website. I'm telling you I'm going to shut the border down. I'm telling you I'm going to eliminate property taxes. I'm telling you what I plan to do. And politicians don't do that because then they know they can be held accountable. They just tell you, well, I got this plan or I've got this, and I'm going to kind of think about doing this. And then they walk away. So I don't care about money. I have a successful business. I don't need your money. I don't need your friendship. And if I don't care about those two, then I don't give a crap about what I'm going for office for. I'm going up there to get a job done and get back to my house because I'm a party. And
I'm in a small county. You have my promise to vote.
All right. I appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
There you go. Rocco, what's up, dog?
Hey guys. I've only got 2 bars, so if you can hear me okay?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, good. Hey, Aaron, I wanted to ask you this question, and it should be pretty quick. I've recently been made aware that because my mother-in-law lives in Arkansas, sort of Western Arkansas-ish, and I've recently become aware of tremendous amounts of land that the CCP has acquired, or I guess they're Chinese companies, but we essentially know it's the CCP. And how are things in Texas with that? Because it's actually tremendous amounts of land, very scary. And is that going on currently in Texas? And what would you do to stop that shit from happening?
Yes, it's going on majorly in Texas. So one of the problems with Texas is that we actually allow companies to use green energy to get carbon credits to go to the world organizations and trade. So China's coming in, buying up our land, building wind farms, taking those green credits and going back and saying, well, here's my carbon credits, and then polluting like hell in their country. It's a major problem. It's part of the push for the why you're seeing wind turbines going up everywhere in Texas. It needs to stop. And by the way, it's not Chinese companies buying Chinese property. It's actually American companies buying the property for Chinese people so that they can hide and pretend they're not doing it. In fact, the same company that bought the land outside the Air Force Base I believe it's Laughlin, has just bought some more land right behind one of my family members that have been in Texas for a long time that used to have 12 sections. Now they're down to 5. And the YO Ranch, which is a huge, massive section of land, in Kerrville, a big section of it just got bought up by that same company. And so now basically a family member has Chinese owned land right behind him. So it needs to stop. We need to stop allowing these credits, which is one of the one of the reasons they use that. And then I don't know everything because it's a big mess, not just for Texas, but everywhere. And I don't know, and I'm not going to sit up and pretend I know. I know some people that have talked about it, and I understand where they're going. I know Weston Martinez has talked about it from the land commissioner side because he has the ability to control a lot of that from the land commissioner. So it needs to be a multifaceted approach between not only the executive, but the legislature and the land commissioner to really shut this stuff down.
Gotcha. So it is a difficult shell game. Then I know those can get complicated, but I appreciate you supporting it.
Yeah, I'm gonna shut it down everywhere I can.
Yeah. Hey, I've been reaching out to Mr. Bush is now running for he's now running against, I can't even think of his name.
He's running for AG. He's running against Ken Paxton.
Yeah, he's running for attorney general. So we need a land commissioner race is going crazy. And I know there's a couple of front runners there, but they're not answering the call.
Yeah,
but,
I got a name right here.
Yeah, and I was hoping some of them would pop in tonight, but they did not. Matt, you had your hand raised. I'm sorry, Paige, were you saying something?
Yeah, I was just going to say, and Aaron can correct me if I'm wrong. On Chad's show the other day, said the largest ranch there is in Texas. It's what you see the popular Yellowstone being filmed on right now, and owned by AMC, owned by CCP. So there you go, largest ranch.
Oh yeah, the 6666 ranch,
yeah,
4 sixes.
All we had left was our Old West, and they got that now. Just saying.
Go ahead, Matt.
Hey, my name is Matt. I live here in Virginia, but my wife and I are residents of Texas, and we are registered voters down in Texas. My wife is active duty military, and I'm retired. Earlier, Mr. Sorrells, I might have butchered the name. I apologize. You mentioned a few minutes ago about getting rid of property tax. Okay, I hate taxes. Okay, I hate taxes. They're too complicated. They should be a real simple process. But if I eliminated property tax, what is your solution for roads? What is your solution for school and education? Because a lot of those personal property taxes and property tax in general goes to supporting those things. If I were to cut out property tax, I would make a big deficit in the income that is used for education, roads, and a lot of infrastructure.
Okay, so the plan it's real simple, and I'll try to put in the nest in a minute. EliminatePropertyTax.com. It is not a sales tax, and before anybody worries about the income tax, it's a constitutional ban. You're not going to get enough people in Texas to go in and vote to remove that constitutional ban. So don't let anybody scare you and say they're coming for the income tax. No, because no one's going to vote to have that back in. I would also say we need to move to make constitutional ban on property tax. And here's the thing. You cannot do it with a sales tax. Eliminate property tax is actually a VAT. It's a value-added tax. Let me explain that so everybody understands it, because like in the forum last night, the one candidate tried to say it's a tax on top of a tax on top of a tax. It's not. Value-added means if I sell it to you for $100, I charge you whatever the percentage is. And I'll go into that in a second, but let me explain how it works. If I then sell it to you for $110, I charge you the $10 increase. It's the value that's been added. You're not taxing the $100 again. You're only adding tax to the $10 that you added to the original price. So one of the problems as a business owner like I am, and I deal with retail and we do displays and we hand things to builders, and there's times where I don't need to mark it up. I need to just give it to them at cost. Well, right now, because it's moving to a retail environment, the government wants money from me. Well, in this situation, if I sell it to them at cost, I don't have to pay any more taxes, nor do they. That's it. So that's what a value added is. It's not a tax on top of a tax on top of a tax. It's just every time you increase value. As far as also how it works is it's private to private wouldn't charge. So when you sell your home, even though you're using a realtor, you wouldn't pay an additional tax. The original builder would, because it's a commercial sale. You would pay tax on your original purchase. If you made your property rental and then went back to it, then it's the same thing. It's now become a commercial property. Then you would be required to pay the charge of the VAT again. Okay. So the reason this works, and so the guy that did it is the group called, is guys named Russell Bennett and Rick Cunningham did the deep dive. He's the only one that has gone all the way down to city and county level, and I mean into the taxing districts and everything. This plan will cover almost every single gap minus about 13 areas, 13 county cities combined. Okay, so there's a few areas we're going to have to deal with maybe some slight distribution changes to get these people taken care of. Sales tax would be much worse because there's a lot of counties in Texas that have no retail sales tax. There's big counties, there's cities, all these places. So you're looking at a 15 to 20% sales tax, which still won't cover the gaps because you can't do it in areas where they literally have they don't do sales like that to the way the current system is set up. And then you're going to have people that are on the borders of New Mexico, Louisiana, and Oklahoma that are just going to hop over the border when they can drive 30 minutes, 5, 10 minutes, whatever it may be, and just pay the lower sales tax. Or they're going to try to dodge it online. So the sales tax plan, even if you look at TPPF plan that one of my opponents is backing, Don Huffines, I believe that's part of his plan. Even they admit it's going to take 10 years. And if you really read what they say about their own plan, they say that it still won't solve all the problems because of exactly what this study, what Rick has found out. So the VAT actually covers it. It solves the problem, and it replaces. When he did the run, it was about $80 billion is what the government needed. With this plan, it covered $84 billion. It also keeps 3% of it at the city and county level, so you don't have a massive taxing conglomerate at Austin redistributing down to the city and counties, which is the same way we use property taxes right now. So you're not screwing over the cities and counties and having a whole massive redistribution of wealth from the state level. It keeps basically all the exemptions that you already have in place. The school funding is going to be handled through the way we did it before we pulled out this stupid Robin Hood program. And it's going to go back to based on cost of living and multiple other variations. I think it's a 5-point calculation. And then that money follows that child, which also will help because then the school districts don't need to go buy up all these properties. Because the fact is, if you're not doing your job, I can easily go to another school district because the money moves with me. And if kids aren't coming to your school, then you're not going to get the money. So it doesn't matter how many homes you buy. It all matters about how many kids are in your school. So it does cover the problem. It gives the money at the city and county levels. It still provides all the money that sales tax, the property tax has provided. And that's the scare that they've done to all of us. Oh, how are we going to fund all this? It's still money. The real problem is an overbloated government that needs to be put in check. And if we do that, instead of us being at right now, the VAT would be around 10 to 10.5% with the city and county 3%. Well, everybody with sales tax is talking 15 and 20. This is only going to be around 10 to 10.5. So it's lower. It's reasonable. People won't bitch about a 10 to 10.5% tax. And then ultimately you can cover everything. And then if we can reduce the government, maybe we get down to 9, 8, 7, 6. And that's really the solution because ultimately the government can tax us on whatever they want to make up for their drunken spending. So does that answer, Matt? Matt, is that good? Okay.
Yeah, sorry, my wife had walked in.
You're good. I was just making sure.
No,
Well,
okay, so is there somewhere I can go where I can read about this VAT
Yeah,
thing that you're talking about?
eliminatepropertytax.com. And like I said, I'll put in the NIST in a minute, and so people can look it up too. But it's literally eliminatepropertytax.com. It's pretty simple.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
yeah, it's pretty simple, Aaron. It's pretty simple.
Yeah.
No, no, I appreciate that. I do know this that like many of you know, I haven't lived here too awfully long, but that has been something that Abbott and every governor runs on is fixing the property taxes. And until you move here, you don't quite understand how big a deal that is. That holy crap! And here's the thing. Here's something that some people need to think about. Oh well, you're not going to raise sales taxes to cover this. Let me tell you something. If you eliminate my property taxes, I'm going to buy a whole hell of a lot more stuff with the money I'm saving that you could use that you're gaining from sales tax. And there's millions of other Texans that would be doing the same thing.
And you mean you'll actually own your property for once?
I
You mean you
own
won't
my
rent from the
property.
government anymore?
I would have a full arsenal in my closet. I'd have a freaking vault like some people do. You walk in. Anyway. They're going to shut me down if I keep talking about it. All right. So, Scott, I'm going to let you ask your question, and unless anyone else has something. We've been on with you for almost an hour now, Aaron, and then I'm going to open it up to some of the other candidates that have kind of made contact with me. So go ahead, Scott.
All right. All right, I like what you said about the property tax a while ago. So, Aaron,
Yes.
Okay. Like Montana doesn't have they don't have a state tax. There's a few others that don't have a state tax either, but most of their state taxes get brought up. I guess they get gobbled up in their I mean not sales tax, but property tax. They use it for sales tax. Is that correct?
I know some of them do sales tax. I'm not sure. I don't worry too much about the other states. I know most states either have an income tax or a property tax. That's typically what they do. I mean, that's just the way we've always done it in the U.S.
I got
I'd
you.
have to
All
look
right.
and see, but I think if you most places that don't have, like I said, I'll look at it and find that answer so I know it. But it's typically property tax or income tax. Nobody does a VAT in the U.S. And that's pretty much it. You have a VAT, a sales tax, property tax, or income tax, and I don't know anybody that's running solely off sales tax.
I got you. All right. Well, thank you for coming on, and thank you for speaking your mind and letting everybody know that where you stand and everything. So you got my vote.
Appreciate it. And I will always speak
Awesome.
my mind.
Nah. All right.
Nah.
So if you guys look up in the Nest, go back a couple. There's eliminate property tax that Summer tagged up there. I also put a tweet that I tweeted out a while back. SaveTexasRally.com. That is something if you're in Texas that they're doing in February. I know I can't be there. I have commitments with my kids competing in sports that day. I cannot miss. And if you go back one more, we have a gubernatorial roundtable that will be, I guess it will be, I think it's on Facebook. I think one of my people, Michelle, someone could correct me. I think that's going to be aired live, but also True Texas Project is doing a lot of things across the state, and they always have. I see Summer's hand up. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say, I just posted every single one of these amazing patriots that are standing up and fighting back for us, but I put all their websites up in the Nest. And if you can just give $5, like Jameson was saying, just anything, we've got to get these guys in office. It's so important. And Aaron, you fire me up. I love it. You 100% have my vote. You
Appreciate it.
are my kind of person.
I'm a
So
little
thank
passionate.
you.
Hey, you're welcome. Hey, real quick, Jay, if anybody looks Save Texas Rally, I will be speaking at that too. So I will actually be at that event. I'm not on that. My picture hasn't been put up there yet. So
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. Michelle has her hand up.
Aaron, you're going to be at the event on Monday in the Woodlands?
hold on.
Is that what you were just
Don't
saying?
get me lying. I got so much going on. I don't remember half my calendar anymore.
The one with,
Which one is
that's
that?
the one that's with Huffines and Chad and West.
No, I will not be at that.
Okay, I thought that's what you were saying. So I'm kind of curious if y'all happen to know, I've got some folks that are not on social media whatsoever.
Yep.
And so I'm trying to find out how they might be able to view the stream somehow from their homes as well if they decide they don't want to go to the actual event on Monday where Chad and everyone are speaking. Or any of these
I don't know
events,
on
really.
that. I don't know on that. That's why I started doing Rumble, because Rumble anybody can watch. That's why I did it the other night. I don't know what they're specifically doing. I can find out and let y'all know.
Okay.
Unless anybody in the room knows.
And you have you can just shoot me a direct message if you want, Aaron, and I'll be happy to
Yep.
pass that out and kind of make more people aware.
Yeah, I'll find it. I'll talk to and find out where it's at.
Okay.
Or what they're streaming on. But yeah, I won't be at that one. I've got enough. I can't be around the governor stuff anymore now that we're this busy. So
Well, and you said on Rumble, would you mind tweeting out maybe when you have that? That way I can maybe take that link and text that out to friends of mine who are not on social media.
yeah, anytime I'm gonna do an event on Rumble, I post it. So you'll see it anytime I'm doing them.
Perfect. Thank you.
So yeah, you're welcome.
It's all in the Nest above. I just posted it all for you. So if you just click on that, it will take you right to his page, and all of the events and all that is right there.
I missed the hands. Does anybody know who was up?
Am I still up, or are we putting somebody else up?
I'll go. No. I think it says Joseph on the American flag there. Go ahead.
Yeah, hey, thanks. I go by Jose, but thanks. Question for you guys. Do you guys happen to have a list of resources related to some of these Texas organizations that are pushing one side of the aisle or the other? To be more specific, I'm finding that there's a lot of these, like organizedtexas.org is one that I'll call out. I'm finding out that they're, sounds great, right? Organized Texas, but it's really all out of left leaning stuff. And I'm starting to see a lot of these sites, organizations that are popping up in Texas. And I'm just wondering if anybody has collected those and assessed them.
Jose, I tweeted out, I don't know, 4 or 5 days ago, some of the people that I follow on Twitter. I can't think of all the ones that I put out there. Some of them were like news people, correspondents, journalists. A couple of them were organizations like you're talking about. I'll be honest with you, that is something that I believe every person needs to dig in and figure out. I could promote, so I'm not getting paid. I'm just a dude. I'm nobody. Like I said 2 hours ago when I started this thing, just a concerned citizen. But they're gonna like TTP. They're putting this thing on next Monday night, I guess, and all three of the people are there, but they're supporting one of those governors. Okay, that doesn't make it a bad organization to me. You go to the next one, Texas Coalition Foundation, I think is what it is. Same thing. They're gonna be at some of these rallies and host some of these things. If you look at the Texas Safe Texas rally, there's some organizations on there that maybe you can dig into. That's my answer to it. If anyone else, Aaron,
Well, and I'll be
Yes.
honest. So it's damn near impossible, Jose, to do it because there are so many. We have a problem in the Republican Party in that nobody trusts anybody. So everybody just keeps making another damn organization. It's ridiculous like every day. So I found one yesterday, and I'm not going to name it. Let's just say I got screenshots. So if they do call me out, I'm gonna blast them for it because they do have a big name endorsement on there. So they're not a small thing. But they basically said they're about to ready to announce all their endorsements for people, and then the people that didn't take the pledge to show who the real conservatives are. One of my opponents is endorsed by them. I have never been sent that pledge. I happened to find it because someone liked it on Facebook that I'm watching, and I saw it. So I went in and filled their pledge out last night, emailed it over to them, screenshotted where it says, if you fill this pledge out, not only will we endorse you, but we will financially support you. So once I fill that pledge out, I better see an endorsement and a financial support, or else you're a sham. And that's the problem with our conservative movement. These people talk a big game with all these organizations to try to get people behind them like they're going to stand up for conservative values. They're not even doing their own due diligence. If you're going to make those kind of bold statements as a conservative organization in Texas only, then you better be finding every single Republican candidate, sending it out to them and going after them. Because if you didn't do that, and I'll even give you a prime example. They even posted on their page after they endorsed my opponent, said he's the only lieutenant governor candidate going after abolishing property taxes. What, really? Have you seen my page? Oh, so you didn't do your job, and yet you're lying to the constituency. So we have a major problem with the conservative movement in Texas. There are major factions right now inside the Republican Party of Texas, and there's about 4 different coalitions trying to vie for the power in Texas. And then there's the rest of us that are like, just shut the hell up and just get out of our way so we can do things. And so we're running into major problems because of that. So even if you find a list, I would still go do your own research because I wouldn't trust these groups honestly right now.
All right, cool. And Aaron, just one last thing. I'll DM you one site that I think might help you. They do a lot of vetting of candidates nationwide.
Okay.
But I'll send it to you.
Okay, that works, man. Appreciate it.
All right, Ham, you have a question for Aaron, correct?
Actually, no. I don't want
Okay, hold up. We're getting to the other people after Aaron. We're about to turn him loose.
I just wanted to say hello to Aaron and I see Jameson Ellis was supportive there as well. I'll wait for later.
Yeah, I don't want to talk to him anyway.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Patrick, you have a question for Aaron?
I do. I have been listening now for well over an hour, and number one, thank you for you guys hosting this. This has been wonderful wonderful spaces to take and listen to. I've listened to several other guys that I love hearing from Texas, and Aaron, this is the first time I got to hear you speak, and I love your fight and vigor that you have. In you, you've got. It's great to hear how much fight is coming out of Texas right now, and I wish that North Carolina had as much fight going on right now to take and oust these rhinos and get these people out of office. And Aaron, you seem to be quite knowledgeable about every aspect of what you're going into. I just have one question for you I need help with.
Sure.
I have a Texas VCR that I don't know how to set the clock on. And I mean,
sounds like an inside joke.
The Texas VCR.
I'm just teasing. I just wanted to say thank you. You're obviously a true patriot. I was just trying to add a little bit of humor.
No, you're good. I liked it. No, it was good. Actually,
Okay.
it's funny. So we did a forum the other night, and my brother-in-law is very, very honest, blunt, honest, which is why I like having him around, because he doesn't care that I'm his brother-in-law. And so I asked his opinion. He said the one thing that one of the other guys did better was he got the crowd to laugh more. And I was like, yeah, I'm not really in a laughing mood right now. So I'm going more for the people that are pissed off and ready to fix stuff. So normally I'm normally like, you'll see me only watch comedy movies and everything. But when it comes to this, I just don't have a lot of humor right now in me. So no, I appreciate it very much. So, and I appreciate your comments too, because the one thing I'm hoping to bring with this, if I win, is that I am 41, and that's considered young, which is laughable at this, but I'm hoping not only do I win, but then I bring back a lot of the younger crowd, and people realize that you don't have to be 55 and 60 plus to actually do something for this country. So.
All right. Our last two questions coming from Brandon and then Michelle, and then we're going to turn Aaron loose.
Yo, what's up? I know Aaron knows me. We got to get to knowing each other for a while. I just want to say 41, that's not old, man. All right. You look really good for your age. 41 ain't old at all. So don't put yourself in that mindset. All right. But
I'm young. What you talking about? I didn't say I was old.
You said that you're all right, whatever. Maybe I misheard you, but
yeah, you misheard.
Okay. I don't wanna you bring yourself down like that. All right. But my question though is, so I mean, you know my political ideology. For everyone else here, I'm identify as a leftist. I live in Texas, so if Aaron's to be my lieutenant governor, I think for me it's a little bit of a concern. So my question is, for people who don't agree with you ideologically, say myself, and a lot of other Democrat voting Texans, do you think that you would be able to effectively fight for the things that they believe in, or do you recognize or believe that you're fighting for a particular group of Texans?
I believe I vote, my voter base is who I represent. If the Republican is the majority, then we represent the Republicans. And we've had plenty of conversations, Brandon, so I think you know where I stand on some of this. But the thing is, if anybody, whether you're Republican or Democrat, believes that eliminating property taxes and getting the property tax burden off, especially the low and middle class and the poor, then that's should be a Democratic issue as well. If you believe that government should be in your life all the time, then we're not going to agree. But anybody on either side should agree that less government and allowing you to be yourself and do your thing and not have the government telling people how to live their lives shouldn't be a Republican or Democrat ideal. And that's all there is to it. And I know we disagree, Brandon. We've had our conversations, and I don't want to go on it because I need to be done here to let other people talk. But the fact is, less government, allow people to help each other out and do what's best for each other will always make a better population than allowing the government to dictate the lives of the citizens. The government never cares about your personal feelings and your personal rights, and nor should they. They should be out of your life and let everybody else do their job. And we would find out that Texans will always take care and help Texans out and will always do what's right when given the chance and given their money back. So I have faith in Texans to do what's right to help the people in need. What you got, Michelle?
So, Aaron, I know I've private messaged you about that, but I'm a firm believer in kind of asking in front of the group because, just in case someone else might have the same exact question. I had messaged you about what your thoughts were on, oh God, I can't remember the name, 3-letter agency. I just had it in my head.
All of them?
No, right. Child Protective Services.
Yes.
As I explained to you, I had an incident. My husband and I had an incident ourselves dealing with his ex-wife, and it was the most horrific experience. I tell people they're crap. Don't even bother calling them. They're a waste of your time. They're not there to protect the parent or the child, only to protect the agency themselves. They don't do anything to protect the child whatsoever, which is extremely enraging. So I just thought maybe that might be a subject you might be able to touch on for the listeners to kind of get your views on them.
Well, as I was telling you too, most people don't realize the CPS system is actually under the jurisdiction of the Attorney General. So, and I'm not trying to bash Paxton here, but I need people to understand something. Just because he goes up and fights lawsuits all the time and he sues the federal government, you need to pay attention to what all his duties are. And the CPS system is underneath the Attorney General. Yes, the legislature can control how it's set up and things like that, and bills related to how they handle things, but the actual implementation of CPS is under the Attorney General. So you need to also be yelling at the Attorney General when you don't like the CPS system. So yes, the CPS system is broken. I mean, our entire family court system is broken across the board, whether it's CPS, the adoption system. We are not protecting children or the family system in any way, shape, or form. We are, you look at everybody talking about how much their children have been taken away or not taken away. It's too easy to call and blame people in the CPS system. And I've watched good parents that make get one call turned on them and something happens. And I've watched people like what you were telling me about where really bad things are happening in the CPS. It's like, oh, well, I mean, I don't know what our CPS system is doing right now, but it sure as hell isn't making sure that things are better for the family and the children involved. I don't know. It's frustrating. I've listened to my church who handles a lot with CPS and adoptions, and when you listen to them, it just makes your blood boil. So I know we need to handle it. I don't know exactly how to handle that. I know how we need to handle the adoption system better than CPS. But we also have to involve the Attorney General in the CPS system to really get it overhauled. So I mean, whatever we can do to protect children, because ultimately, when you can abuse things that are weaker than you, you're not a good person. And that goes from the elderly to small animals. If you think you're a badass with animals, go fight a lion head on, and we'll see how badass you are. But when you can prey on things weaker than you, you need to rethink your priorities in life. So abusing children in any way, shape, or form is unacceptable in my book. So.
Progressive judges.
Yeah, well, yes.
Go, Summer.
Oh, I was just going to say, I actually am starting a show, and my very first episode is about adoption. And it's a story of a girl who is actually pretty close to me. And she decided after giving birth during the snowstorm in her car, she delivered her own baby. She was going to give her up for open adoption. That she had to break the cycle of abuse. She did not want to bring this baby into something she was trying to escape. And long story short, it's made me go down so many rabbit holes with the foster care system. And so on the 13th, I'm actually interviewing her, and we are going to be doing a whole thing on how we can get involved. If this is something that's on your heart, what we can do as a community to start bringing awareness to adoption and abortion and all of those things. I've never realized how important and honestly, like what a scam it is. It's so sad for me to know that there are so many kids sitting in foster homes when they could be in loving homes. And there's a reason behind it. And we have to start exposing this. So join me on the 13th at 6 p.m. in California time or
let me do a quick rundown on adoption for everybody so you all understand this real quick. I can make this fast. We are brokering children in this state. The reason we have 13,000 plus children in the system is that we literally set up a brokerage. These brokerages actually effectively buy the children. These brokers also then get their own agency. So if you take it about like from a realtor perspective, you have the broker, then you have the real estate agent. You take those two. So the broker is getting paid by the state to have these children. Then they're making a percentage off of the agencies. And so when you go to adopt a child or be part of the foster care system or any of that, you have to pick an agency. If you go up there and you say, hey, you can't just go up and say, hey, let me see all the 15-year-olds that I can adopt. Let's see if they line up. No. You went to that agency. You are now subject to only the 5 kids that are at 15 years old in this agency. Well, what about the other 500 that are in those other agencies? Oh, no, that broker doesn't own that. If you want to do that, you're going to have to go to that agency, and then you're going to have to go through another year of training, another year of lessons, and all that. And all this time, oh, now that kid's 17. So we are literally brokering children. We are also making it where the churches cannot help. So my church, who is big on adoption, cannot actually, so we are building beds for children. But we can't build beds and give them directly to the adoptions agencies and the CPS system. We have to go through a subsidiary company that is allowed to deal directly with these agencies to provide these beds for these kids, because that's one of the number one reasons they don't get into foster care or into a home. So we can't even as a church do it because our own state is basically saying, no, we can't allow churches to be involved in the adoption stuff. That is what we're doing to children in Texas. It's sickening. And the fact is, yes, Summer, that's a great thing to go over, because I didn't realize how bad it was until my adoption pastor sat down and explained to me how it worked, because he came from a different state, and it's bad. It's really bad what we're doing.
It's very bad. It is so bad. And these kids are being sold. The foster system, I'm telling you, I'm also having my daughter's best friend come on, and she is a product of the foster system, and it's not good. But she's actually advocating. She's trying to start her own non-for-profit because of the education is so low for kids, and that's why they can never escape the cycle. And people need to wake up and see this is what they're doing. It's all, I mean, yes, you have to really pay attention, but my God, we are going to lose a generation. And these are my daughters. So this is a huge thing. I also have a father who is a pedophile. He served 20 years in prison. And let me tell you, I have never in my entire life felt more led to finally step out and tell my story, tell my family story, and fight for these victims. I'm telling you, I start shaking, but I lived it. It is my past. It is actually honestly such a gift now when I look at this, because I needed to know what I know for right now. And we have to start spreading this. So thank you for even tackling this, because so many aren't, Aaron. Nobody is talking about what is happening. Kids don't just disappear. They just don't.
No, they don't.
So
You're right.
it's huge. It's a big thing. The masks, these vaccines, these are our babies. And I'm telling you, I'm having 2 teachers come on. They're going to be incognito. But we are talking about what they're doing to indoctrinate these schools. They're moving teachers around. They're literally taking the conservative ones that have spoken up. They're moving them out and bringing these liberal ones in. And this is right here in Frisco. And I pay way too much money to have to worry about this, but we're going to talk about it and start telling parents, get involved in the PTA, start working at the library. Like, for those of us moms that have the ability to do that, we are going to take advantage of that. And we're going to set up resources so that, parents know, like, we're going to come in and we're going to take over these school boards. This is insane. So I'm sorry. I just get so excited when somebody else feels like that.
All right. So I'm a horrible host because I cannot butt in. You guys are doing a great job. Maybe that makes me a good host. All right. So I know some people has hands up, but we're
Do you want me to say? I mean, there's some other candidates probably need to go by now. So
yeah. We're dropping Aaron down as the main highlight. If he wants to stay on as a speaker, that's okay. But we're kind of giving this a little ear to those of. I don't even know where all you guys are from, but I know there's a couple of them in here.
Ruben's
Ruben's
been on for a while.
Ruben's been on almost the whole time, and I DM'd him, said he's first up. So for all of you guys below, please follow Aaron. If he dips out, follow him, give him a follow. I'm not telling you to vote for him, but I'm telling you to check him out. look what if you didn't hear his passion in his voice, oh my gosh, I don't know, you're deaf. But make sure you guys check him out. All right.
I'm gonna stay in, Jay. I'll be here in case someone down the road wants to ask me a question, but I am going to take a bathroom break, so don't ask me anything for a while.
Appreciate it. Thank you for your time, Aaron, and you can plug yourself one more time before you leave if you want to, after all these guys get to speak. So Ruben, you're the first one up. You've waited the longest time to speak. So tell us who you are, tell us where you're at, tell us what you're running for, and we'll try to help get the word out for you, brother.
No, thank you so much. I love being on because I resonate so deeply with what everyone was saying. And I too woke up one day and I couldn't. In fact, I think I announced my candidacy on a YouTube live stream. I am an ordained minister, and I just couldn't not do anything anymore. It seemed like it was our duty, if we cared about humanity at all, to do something. So I am running for Congress. I am running for Texas 14, obviously on the Republican ticket. And I am, I mean, I am a very America first in the sense that and I also have a lot of specific issues, right? So I kind of like what,
Hold up.
Go ahead.
I'm not on my computer, so where's District 14 at, so the listeners can know?
So it's Galveston, Beaumont, Webster. It goes all the way up to Orange County. It's a pretty big. It's pretty much the coastline in that way, and kind of like what you guys were saying earlier, especially a lot of you guys I know are Christian, is the truth is not partisan or complex, but it's the lies that people tell to subvert it, which become right. And in that sense, I am a very first principles candidate, and with that in mind, for example, like I said, pertains to healthcare. I believe one way to make it very affordable, which I think it pertains to everyone, it's by reducing or cutting back government and even reducing taxes. And one of the ways that it can be done is with people being able to, they themselves negotiate their own drug prices by having a master list of suppliers to our ally nations. And then those things can be deliverable to, for example, a pharmaceutical company. So a lot of my platform is really getting down to, I do believe that conservatism is ultimately the highest resonance, and not just because we believe in God or a higher power, but if you think the most fundamental, well, like it was said earlier, right? The Bible has 10 commandments, and we have a whole administrative state. So a lot of my campaign is just getting down to what matters to we the people, and it is my belief, as I think a lot of you guys, that the Constitution is a deeply spiritual document, Christian in nature. And so I believe that a lot of those foundational truths are universal, and engineering those solutions in that way is basically structuring what do we want to accomplish and how do we do it by scaling back governments. My other really big one is recalling the Federal Reserve, which essentially, my background is trading and investing, and it's essentially assigning, if you think about the administrative state, or you think the printing of money, right? How did we diverge to where we have such a huge bureaucratic system? And what happens is a lot of the fad becomes adjudicated by the beneficiaries of the system, right? And if you think about what we value in our everyday life, right? We're having supply chain issues. We value housing. We value our liberties, our rights. But everything, we don't need CNN and all of these very liberal cities and very liberal ideological propaganda machines that are six figures. Same with someone said earlier, like the legal system, right? It's basically an amalgamation of gaslighting and whataboutism and all these other things that are so divergent from any truth or morality or universal law in that sense. And so when you think about the printing of all of this money and the adjudication of that money, it goes into these liberal systems, right? And that's what, if you notice the rate of inflation and how it grew to the way it has, and the divergence of these really bureaucratic and the media and all of that systems, It's a lot of the adjudication, even if you think about like the propaganda in college, right? It's the more government gets involved and the bigger it gets, the more it empowers the propaganda and subversion of universal law, of we the people and the Constitution in that way. So in that sense, I'm also, one of my big ones is also contesting property taxes. So, and I do think, I don't know how you separate the two, right? I think when you see the Federal Reserve and its implications and property taxes, for example, you know, the inflation that we're seeing right now for Texas residents, right? We have a relatively high property tax rate. So it is a covert attack on red states, because when people get the bill, right, their property tax bill, legacy Texas residents would see the inflated pricing or you know, the additional pricing, and then they would likely respond accordingly, right? And so so anyways, I can ramble on a lot of that, but I think maybe if you guys ask me more pointed questions, it would probably be more beneficial about the things you guys care about.
Okay, well, if Donnie has a question for you, awesome. If you don't, Donnie, I'll come to you here in just a second. Just let me know.
I didn't at the moment. Sorry.
Okay, so Ruben, here's the deal. I don't know how many of your guys are here in this space. All right, they were just there listening. You knew who our guests were, and that's awesome guests, awesome candidates. But I heard you. I was away for a minute. I apologize for that. But here's my question to you. I heard you said the part of your reason why you were going to be running for Congress. Okay. What do you need from this group to kind of help you out in the Twitter space? Post something up in the Nest. We'll try to retweet it for you to get your message out. But if there's anything else, Summer, I was trying to DM you for a second, but I'm so appreciative of you coming and waiting on us. And I just want you to get a little 1 or 2 minute reason why you're running. What can we do for you? What are the top 2 things you're wanting to accomplish? Top 2, 3 things you're wanting to accomplish? And who's your major opponents?
So the big thing that I'm trying to accomplish more than anything is recalling the corruption of the administrative state in general, right? I think even Justice Kagan said that if that gets contested, then most of the laws will become moot. And I think we need to return to a Congress that is competent enough to write bills that are in alignment with the Constitution instead of deferring that to the administrative state. So that's a big one. One of the things that the reason I spoke earlier in the first place was because, for example, a lot of the things that you guys mentioned that are really important, I think are left out of the discourse for whatever reason, right? So, for example, one of my campaign messages that has been shared quite a bit is, for example, the reality that the primary voter, so for example, my opponent who I'm running against is Randy Weber, wins the primary with 33,000 to 50,000 votes. And whoever takes the primary automatically in my district takes Congress. So I basically explained to people in one of my ads how if you weigh the impact of your primary vote, it's a 20x impact, because 33 to 50,000 votes is 5% of the overall constituency. And when people begin to see the truth in the system in a way that is contextually palpable, I think it really empowers them to actually, once people realize that their vote is worth 20x, they're more likely to then vote on the primary. So just empowering people with those really deep truths that you can't really unhear is the second one. A third is, I guess the Federal Reserve is kind of with the administrative state, is basically finding the solutions absent the bureaucracy, which I do believe are in the conservative system. Like I said, being able to personally negotiate your drug prices from suppliers to ally nations. And so with that said, I guess the best way to share, I think, is sharing the message, because it's one of those things you cannot really unsee them. And if you look at even just my top 1 or 2 Twitter posts, you realize you can't really unsee the things that I'm posting. And I think in that way it compels even good or well-intended Democratic base to see the truth that effectively they've been gaslit into a divergent and inverted way of thinking by the exploitation of their, I think, enmeshment or inner child trauma, which I have a whole thing about. But I think I'm trying to figure out how to share a tweet onto the top, because I think that's what you asked me to do, right? To share a tweet at the top. But my pinned tweet, I think you guys would like, which is, again, it goes back to first principles. And
Paige, can you grab that off his? Are you there, Paige or Summer?
Yeah.
Can you grab that off his profile and post it up there in the nest for everybody? Go ahead, Ruben.
Oh, thank you. But even if you look at just my pinned tweet, right, you hear so many numbers from the CD, and the Consumer Price Report, and all these reports that don't really mean anything with the Biden, with the Biden, fake numbers, effectively. And so my pinned post basically talks about how much gaslighting there is within that. But if you just focus on two numbers, right, eligible employment participation and household purchasing power, you would see how those are always omitted, and they're omitted to continue to lie to the people. So the framework of my campaign is really just helping everyone, Democrat, Republican, liberal, I'm obviously conservative, see intrinsically and palpably the truth, so that they can no longer unsee it, and they can no longer be lied to in that way.
Okay, Ruben, thank you for. I'm sorry. You guys can laugh all you want. I'm open for it, but I've been in and out for a couple of minutes. Honestly, I'm very appreciative of you waiting your time, and hopefully people that are in here know people where you're at. We'll send something out to them, say, you need to look at this guy. He's a real deal. I did want to say something real quick. I know Aaron had said earlier that he will be hosting spaces when he can after his events and speaking engagements and wherever he's going the next 2 months, I'm sure. So I would suggest, just to anyone that's in here running for office, follow Aaron and see when he gets in those spaces, you jump in there, because I know what people do. They click on your picture, they look to see who you are. Some of them follow you. I think Jameson Ellis was in here earlier, and people worked with him to try to get him a lot of followers. He said he got like thousands of them today. So that would be one suggestion. I'm going to quit talking for a second. Ruben, stay on. Go ahead and stay on. We're going to move on. I'm going to go to Donnie and then Ham. Ham for Texas. You're going to be up right after Donnie, because I know you've been waiting for a very long time. I know your hand's tired, so you put it down. So Donnie, go ahead.
Thank you for having me, guys. Goodbye. Or I'm here, but thank you.
No, actually, I do have a question for you now. And I may have missed it, but I didn't hear the Constitution one time when you were talking. And for me, and I think quite a few other people, that's really important, especially what happened like in 2020 and what's going on now. So when it comes to like the shutdowns and things happen, what's your call on that? I'm curious, because I was very disappointed by Texas, and I felt Texas would be leading in freedom when they shut down and mandated things. I was curious what you were thinking about that before I go into my other piece.
For myself, correct?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so I am staunchly against lockdowns, and that's something that I've actually been very vocal about. And I think if you guys are spiritual or religious or Christian, you guys would understand this. But death is not a variable. Death is absolute. It's inevitable. However, liberty and freedom and our sovereign free will to self-discovery, by contrast, in the gamut of the good and the bad, to ultimately find the ultimate truth, and the liberty of being able to go in the journey of self-discovery, the resurrection with a crucifixion, is it is something that is, I think, constitutionally protected. It is my belief that the founding fathers understood that aspect of spirituality and Christianity. And so I am staunchly against lockdowns. I don't think the truth doesn't negotiate, right? It just doesn't. And so I am against lockdowns across the board. It's just, we've had pandemics before. I think it was a complete power grab. I think even our scientific system is inverted, right? Because how is it that science is predicated around trying to prevent death when death is inevitable and thus therefore not a variable? And so I think we need to return to a more religious or spiritual, and I won't dictate how you call that religion for different people, but we need to have a deeper understanding of the implications of the human experience, and protecting what makes us sovereign in doing so.
Okay, cool.
I think it's really important just to say, I think everybody needs to pay attention to everybody that's running, because these positions truly do affect our lives, our futures, our kids. I think everybody needs to do a lot of research. You need to go see how these people have actually voted or where they stand. Sometimes there's a lot of really pretty words and it sounds great, but I want somebody that is going to stand up for my family and for the future of Texans and not care about anything else. It has to be I don't know how we ever got away from the Constitution. And that needs to be addressed. Like we are a constitutional, and people forget that. And and of course they want them to. So it's very important. I'm posting everybody's information above. So please go do your own research and make sure, you're asking the questions and getting the answers you want.
Well, I can tell you how we got away from the Constitution, and I actually just tweeted it 2 hours ago. When did the U.S. Code of Rebellion and Insurrection, which states that anybody who acts against the government is diametrically opposed to the Constitution, because the Constitution references itself as the pledge to our Congress and or our constitutional republic. So it was conflated. So government and the idea of the Constitution were conflated, and then it was inverted to depict government and thus therefore a power by force rather than by sovereignty. So governments, I believe, and the Constitution are diametrically opposed.
And that's why I wanted to ask. I want to make sure that was clear. Summer was saying, it's really important to a lot of us. I think too, it would be really strong if you led with that as well, because so many people are probably going to think while you're talking, is he going to get to that point? Is he going to get to that point? And then and if it doesn't happen, they're going to be like, oh man, and not hear the whole message. I think our rights are really important now. The last thing I was going to say was I put up in a nest. Apparently, they're sending illegal children up for adoption agencies in New York. And I was just adding on to what Summer and them have said. I don't know if they saw this or not, but I thought that is very interesting, especially with Aaron explaining the business and how it works, that they're taking these illegal children and then sending them to adoption agencies instead of taking them back to their parents and home.
Well, and then it's keeping more kids in our foster care system. But let me tell you, there is so much money. There is so much money being made. I was just telling my husband what's so me is there are a lot of good people, I believe, that are just asleep on some really important issues. And as a Democrat, when I was a Democrat, the reason I felt at the time was truly because of the social aspects of the party. And I'm a woman, I'm a mom, I have all the emotions. I love hard. It is what it is. But with that said, I think that is where the twist is. That is what won me over with the America First Party, is that I actually did need services, and I'm very thankful for them. And I absolutely need to have a community where we take care of each other, but not when there is a certain group of people that are making so much money, and we are basically their slaves. They want to live a certain way, and then they want us to live a certain way. And so we have to say, no, you are not better than us. And I love that that's what Aaron was saying is, look, I just want to get in. I want to fix this bullshit, and I want to get out and live my life. And then somebody else comes in. But it definitely are. These are things we have got to think about. And thank you guys, because it truly made me realize, I mean, I never paid attention to my local races. I never voted in the midterms ever. I was always, I was actually registered independent in California, couldn't. But anyways, with that said, I think it is just so important that we wake all of our friends up that are moderate, because these are not, to me, are not political issues. This is like humanity. This is our fellow and our counties and our communities and all the things that we're about to lose. So look at it more that way and just try and get people excited about voting, knowing that the positions they're voting for are impacting what's going to happen with their kids in school. And
Absolutely.
it's
Just
very
really
important.
quickly. Oh, sorry.
But I'm going to stop talking. I could do this forever. I'm so
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah, I can't do this forever. All right. So some of you know that from previous weeks. It's because some of you, I'll end it at 9 o'clock and you're going till 1. So that's awesome. That's great. Y'all create your own space. You can do that. All I was wanting, that we got some new people coming in. I've been looking at some of them. Definitely running for an office. I'll be honest with you. If you're one of those people, we're trying to get you a microphone. And in the meantime, go ahead and tweet this page out. I'm not going to lie to you. At 10:15, I'm done. All right. But someone can pick up another space. I'm very appreciative of you guys coming in. And for those of you listening, as candidates, use spaces until they drop us. Okay. Because this is something that a lot of people, there are hundreds of thousands of people surfing around looking for something, popping in and listening, and all it takes is 5 minutes or 2 minutes, and they hear something, and now you've got somebody in your district that's going to pick up the torch for you. Okay, so Joshua Ham has been waiting a very long time, and then we have after him will be Ryan. I'll butcher your name, Catala. I don't know, for Congress. You guys are up next. I see Alicia or Alicia. I can't say your name. She's coming up after them, and I see Robert coming in. So this is awesome. Get your people in here. I'm only going to be around. You might talk me into a few more minutes, but get your message out. Tell us where you're at. Tell us what you're running for. Who's your major opponent? If we know them, we may not know them. I definitely want someone in here from Stephanie Click's district, and I sent a DM to them, 2 or 3 of them, and they're not in here, and she needs to go. She's the one, if you know about gender modification, she's the one that killed that legislation. She was over that committee. But get her, if you're in her district, I think it's like 91, 81, 92, somewhere in there. But anyway, let's go with Joshua. Go ahead. Tell us where you're at, where you're from, what's up.
Howdy, Donnie, Aaron, pleasure to see y'all again. I was actually saw Aaron when we were supporting Robinson at the Liberty at the Lake event. My name is Joshua Ham. I am in House District 12. I'm running for Texas House, not for Congress, because I feel that the majority of the problems the state of Texas faces can be resolved through the state legislature by simply invoking Article 1, Section 10 of the U.S. Constitution that says that all rights not directly guaranteed to the federal government are the state's prerogative. So all it takes is just for a state legislature to start acting like a state legislature and leading the way. Texas does not need to ask for forgiveness or for permission to take care of Texans. We got a problem on the border, then Texas legislature should fix that problem. We got a problem with illegal immigrants, then Texas should fix that problem. I mean, it wouldn't be that difficult. All you got to do is start removing all of the benefits for illegal immigrants, get rid of all benefits for people who are not lawful residents of Texas, and you will create a situation in which people who aren't residents will voluntarily leave. Maybe they'll go back home, maybe they'll go somewhere else, but it won't be affecting the poorest and most uneducated Texans who are most at risk of having just nonstop immigration driving down wages while we have nonstop inflation taking away people's money. Okay. The Texas Constitution straight up says that homesteads are protected in the state of Texas. Well, that means we got to abolish property taxes, because property taxes say you don't own that land. Because if you stop paying property taxes, you'll find out real quick who actually owns your land. And news tip, it ain't you. So we have to abolish property taxes, bar none. And quite frankly, I was frustrated about what my representative, Kyle Cassell, was doing. Voted the most liberal Republican by the Texas Tribune. Not exactly a conservative bastion there. But when I found out that he voted against protecting my 13-year-old daughter in schools, bathrooms, that's when I decided to run. And I started working with local grassroots organizations. I started working with local tea parties, because it is unconscionable to me.
What town you in? What town?
I'm in Brazos County. I'm right outside of Bryan College Station. We're about 2 hours east of Austin. If that helps. But it's crazy to me that I joined the Army after 9/11, because I'm only 37 years old. So 9/11 happened when I was a senior, and I went and joined the Army. And now at 37, my kids have less rights and less liberty, less freedom, less of an opportunity than I did when I joined the Army. I thought I was going to help support and defend the Constitution and the liberties and the freedoms of this country. And now I think the best way for me to do that is to try to make Texas the absolute leader that it should be for states' rights and state sovereignty, and just completely doing what we have to do to protect Texans. And damn the rest.
Heck yeah.
I love
Say,
it. I just posted your information for your website as well as your Twitter, so everyone can go follow all of these guys. And again, check them out. But 100%, thank you for being here with us. I really appreciate you.
of course, man. Thank
And
you.
Robert, you too. Glad to see you.
Awesome.
And
Thank
I did
you.
post a tweet that's up there at the top, and the message of the tweet is very simple. The person that you've heard about is the one who has the backing of the people that hate you. So you might want to start finding out who the people are that you haven't heard about and start funding them. Because I'm doing everything I can, and I've been able to do it thus far, but I'm just a blue collar dude. I'm a diesel mechanic and a truck driver. I ain't got $500,000 like my incumbent opponent.
Heck yeah, dude. I love that. Blue collar, baby. That's my
Right?
roots. That's my
Yeah.
roots, man. I know how to work. Hey, I just wanted to make sure that those of you that are waiting to speak, again, I'm not trying to cut you off. We'll try to do this again. I'm available to host spaces Monday or Tuesday nights. I know I haven't said that. My name's Jerry, by the way. Jay, you can call me Jay. I'll respond. But my name's
And
Jerry.
I'm Summer.
And Summer
Nice
helps
to meet
me.
you.
I was scared to death to host these by myself several months ago, and for some of you that just joined us, we've had quite a few people just pop in. Names like Don Huffines, Chad Prather. Now we got. Hopefully, the way the room was responding, our next Lieutenant Governor, Aaron Sorrells, he's been on here a couple of times. And Robert, and a couple of people we've seen throughout, just by stepping out and wanting to say, what can we do? Well, we were in spaces, we were talking to people. Texas kept coming up. All these people all over America, I feel like we're family, but half of us have never even met one another. But Summer and I were here really close in Frisco, McKinney area. And we were like, we still haven't ever met in person, just to let you know, we're like 20 minutes away from each other. But I used to listen to her husband speaking in spaces. He's freaking funny. And the next thing you know, we're just talking about, well, what are we going to do in Texas? What can we do besides bitch about it? And it's like, well, let's just open up a Texas talk, a Texas town hall. And we've been doing these just ever so often. We had a great response the last couple of weeks. And again, Mondays, Tuesdays, I'll be available to host. But again, you guys do this thing too. you guys get your message out. I know Donnie, she was up here earlier. I don't know if she's still there. But she hosts a lot of things about our rights and Constitution. Summer's been hosting some things with family, and she's starting her own podcast, and she plugged that earlier. Paige was someone that we met on Spaces just a couple of weeks ago, and she's just really like excited about things. And Michelle has had her hand up for a long time. So Michelle, you can butt in at any time because she's going crazy down there in Harris County area. But our next speaker right now, so thanks for listening to that, is Ryan. Go ahead, say your name, Ryan. Go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, thanks, man. You could have butchered it. It would have been cool. Ryan Katala. I hear 47 different ways. I work in public school. I'm a principal. So first day of school, everybody's like, "How you say your name, man?" Katala, Catano, Katsasano. I get every type of variation.
Katala. So I kind of said it earlier. I guessed at it once. Where are you at? What city? What county? Where are you running? Who's your main opponent? Why are you running? And what can we do to help you?
Yeah, so I'm actually running so that Aaron can be my boss because he's in my district, and he's running so that I could be his boss, right? Because the people are actually the people who run the country. That's what I believe. I believe that like we've lost sight of the fact that representatives work for us. I consistently reach out to my representatives and I invite them to these conversations. And like I notice they don't come, right? Like there are very few people who want to be responsive to the community that they want to serve. So like, you know, what I'm about, and shout out to Alicia, she's here. She's actually running in the same race that I am, which I think is really awesome. Like she is a warrior trying to spread the message of freedom. So, you know, anybody who's trying to be America first, like Aaron's platform is really clear. You asked the question earlier. You said like, what can we do to help you? Aligning language so that the average person can get a sense of what does it mean to be America first, Texas, you know, I don't know what higher than first is, but it'd be that, right? Like individual rights, integrity in office, right? Like for me in Congress, what it looks like if I get into Congress, I'm going to be pushing for single issue bills. I'm tired of 900-page monstrosities that you don't even have enough time to read. Like it's legislative malpractice to give me 1,000-page document, expect me to read it in 24 hours, and then ask me to make an informed decision on it. I mean, my vote would just simply be no, because I ain't reading that. I don't have time to read that. It's not reasonable. So I would push to simplify the bills that we pass, to identify like what is the one thing that we actually need to address. Let's talk about it in committee and let's actually vote up or down on that issue. Where do you stand on it? Kind of like some of the candidate guides. You know, I'm a big believer that our individual rights were demolished in the past 2 years. I've never thought that I might have to lose my job. Like that's terrified me. The fact that I worked for 10 years to go from a homeless kid to the principal of a middle school, and to think that I don't feel like I have economic security because I'm not sure whether or not my president is going to turn me into the next villain because of my medical choice. I think that's outrageous. So, and the fact that like my Congress member has been silent on that issue has offended me so much so that it's like, no, I have to run, right? And I think like the more people continuously putting out a really clear and defined message that there have been constitutional violations, that you cannot legislate laws from the executive office, that Congress and in state government, the state legislatures, they're the ones who pass laws and the executive office is there to enforce them. Like we have to get back to that root. I write on my website, like America is great. Our foundation is pure. The Declaration of Independence establishes a boundary that says like government, you can only go this far. And if you cross this boundary, we as the people have a right to put you back in your place. So I don't want to dominate the space and take too much more time, but like, what's something that you can do? I will never ask you for money. In fact, if you're on my Instagram page, you'll see I'll probably give away money this week because that's what I do, right? I'm just a different type of person, right? I believe that truth is more powerful than ads. And if your message is good, it's worth sharing. So what can you do? You know, share something that I put out there, do a retweet, right? Or share things that people are saying that are just as important. When Aaron puts something out there, I stand by it. I support it. I was typing up my endorsement for him as we were talking, but like I couldn't actually come up with enough good words before you gave me a chance to speak. So I was like, let me be thoughtful about that.
Wait, so were you, wait. I'm looking through, or do I have 3 people here from District 12?
No,
Is it?
so Ham is not. He's in House 12. But
Oh,
Alicia is actually running in the same race. We're trying to accomplish the same thing. Kay Granger has been in that
sorry.
spot since I was in 6th grade. And now I'm the principal over a 6th grade.
Well, I
Right?
thought
Like,
we were getting ready to see a space duel or a trifecta here. I didn't know. All right. Okay.
yeah,
I'm,
yeah.
I'm doing state legislature, not Congress.
Not
It's all right.
Congress.
It's just
Okay.
as holy, bro. It's just as holy.
I got you. So we're going Congress big time. That's awesome. Hey, again, you guys, I'm just going to repeat myself because I'm trying to wind it down in the next 20 minutes. But you guys utilize spaces, invite people to them. Join us next week, maybe Monday or Tuesday night. I don't know what night it'll be. I didn't expect it to be a weekly thing, but now that the primaries are coming, people want to hear you guys. And you know, we've had some great people running, and so I definitely want to just say thank you guys for sticking around and speaking up. What was there anything else there, Ryan? And then I'm going to go to Michelle because she's had her hand up for a while.
Got you. Yeah, I think, you know, something people could do. There's actually an event in Fort Worth. The Fort Worth Republican women are having an event on Saturday. I'll be there. I invite, you know, obviously Aaron's trying to get some votes over here. Alicia wants to get some votes. I mean, hey, I feel like it's a good thing. So I'm all about sharing the information, get it out there because the Republican message is more important than any one particular message. Yes, we can have disagreement, but like we have to win the House and we have to take control of the government so we can limit some of these offenses. So thanks for the time to speak, man. You guys are cool.
Hey, just real quick before Michelle speaks, I won't be there Saturday. I'm taking my wife to a comedy event in Midland. So feel free to talk about me for me. I appreciate it. Okay, bye.
So one thing I wanted to add on top of what Jay is saying with, you know, coming into these spaces and getting to know your candidates and the candidates being able to speak. One thing that, you know, he mentioned to me when I first met him over spaces was creating lists. And I encourage everyone to create a list of these candidates. And I just did that myself tonight with all these folks. So I can kind of keep a better organized track of what they're saying, what's going on, who's running for what. And it's so much easier to track what's going on with our politics rather than having to look through all of our feed and remember who was it that was in that spaces that was running for this or that. But that was one thing that I would strongly encourage. And then always try to come to these spaces because like I was just sending a private message to one of you guys that sometimes there's new people, sometimes there's, you know, some of us that are the same old folks that come in all the time, but there's always some new people. There's some new people in here tonight that I hadn't heard of. So keep it up, y'all.
I'm
All
happy
right.
to I'm happy to host next Tuesday if we can start at 7 again. I don't have a problem. I just need a lesson on how to pin, and we'll record this time.
How to put in the Nest, you mean, page or?
Yeah,
So
I can get help on how to do that. I'm happy to host. I'm just running on 2 hours of sleep.
just so you guys know, this is actually being streamed live on my YouTube. Well, it's not, I mean, it's just, there's
Okay.
really nobody on it, but
So
I
wait
wanted
a
to
second,
keep this.
Summer. Am I getting
Seems like
some
it's
of the
on there, but nobody's watching.
proceeds from this? Am I getting
Well,
some of the proceeds? I didn't see a
No, I'll
contract.
tell you why. Because there's some people, there's a lot of my friends that are not on Twitter and they don't, I mean, they're super smart. They're moms, they're, you know, they live in my community, whatnot, but they don't have Twitter. And I feel like that is where the good thing is happening. Like, so I decided to just stream these things like we did with Chad Prather, and I had a ton of people listening. So I feel like if we have that type of a platform, then we can, there's no excuse because everybody has YouTube. I mean, it's just a given. So,
they're like, who's this Jerry dude? He don't know what he's talking about.
but I do want to say there's
Talk so slow.
for all the
He
new
said
people,
got that drawl. Where's he freaking
He
from?
does. He's very
Hey,
slow.
hey, I'm from Oklahoma, so you just need to calm
Oh,
it down
damn
a
it. We
little
let
bit.
an Okie run a Texas talk?
Hey, you don't know. You don't know.
Oklahoma is the best northern Texas county.
Hey. I got here. My wife's from Texas, so there you go. How about that?
All right, we'll give you
All right.
we'll give you a redeemer there.
Alicia, is that how you say it? Speak up.
Yes, it's Alicia. My name is Alicia Rigg. Thank you for having me on. Thank you, Ryan, for inviting me. Unlike Ryan giving out money, I don't have the money. So Ryan, I'll send you my donate button since you're handing out money. Trevor Robert on here is the one that who helped me start learning about these streaming platforms I didn't even know. I'm an EMT. I come from a long line of veterans. My entire family served. I served as a Marine Corps wife, and I gave birth to a Marine. All I know my whole life is service. My leadership is going to be by servanthood. I had been so busy working with the whole COVID thing. Like last year, I was over 80 hours all the time, and just work, sleep. And then I got into paramedic school, and they said, you have to get a vaccine. And I'm like, I travel to third world countries. I'm more vaccinated than most people. The only vaccination I don't have is Agent Orange. And they told me if I didn't do it, I was going to be dropped from the program. And I was very upset because this mandate has now not only making me do something I didn't want to do, but is controlling the outcome of my goals as an American citizen. And the more I look at this country and watching it slowly implode, and it's just the sheep going to the slaughter because it's where the government's leading it, the more angry I get. And I don't know politics when I win. I'm not a politician. I'm not going to be called a politician. I am doing a job. Get in, get out, hand the baton off. I'm an EMT. All I know is how to resuscitate. I think it's time to clean up this government, get rid of these people that have been in forever who are just getting rich. And talking to some of the people, like the one lady was saying, talking to a lot of these people, I've learned that they have given up hope. They have no fight in them. They're just like, it is what it is. I can't do anything. My vote doesn't matter. Or they just don't care. And it really saddened my heart, honestly, to listen to these people like, just let our country go. When other people are trying to fight to get into our country, or they're even sneaking into our country, but our very own people won't even stand up and fight for our own country. And I'm tired of it. So I'm only 5'2", but I carry a big stick, and I fear nobody, not even the machine that Ryan and I are going up against.
God bless you, girl. We need you to resuscitate our country.
Yeah, I am a Christian, and I'm going in God's name. Like, it's like David and Goliath. With both Ryan and I are going up against this machine who doesn't even have signs out. And I was asking someone today, I'm like, I have not seen one of Kay Granger's, and they're like, she's just running off her name and her money. She's sending out flyers, and I'm like, this is ridiculous. Like, I'm an EMT hustling, like trying to meet people and trying to get support and trying to get my name and my mission out there. Like, we have become entitled, living off the government money, trying to get famous off TikTok. That's what our nation has done. Like, they don't care because now they're comfortable, and some people don't care because comfortable is quote unquote safe, when to them not safe like in safety matter, but they don't want to step out of their comfort zone. And so I want to be the voice for the people that don't have a voice and the people that lost their voice. And I have military blood that runs through my body, honor, courage, commitment. I remember that when I go into office, my word, my character, my name is all I have going in front of me. And I plan on taking that with me when I leave office, and it's going to be intact or better than it was when I entered. And that's basically me.
Awesome. And you know what? I put everyone's information up in the Nest. Feel free, please, to just scroll through all that. I put some really good tweets from them. I was just thinking one way that we all can get involved, and it's so simple, is just to sign up either for newsletters. If you guys have started those, like campaign stuff, and making sure people know different ways to donate. So I saw on Aaron's that people can actually do a monthly thing, which I think is awesome. So that way, you know, you don't have to give a ton all at once if you can't. So I just think it's important to find these people and to, you know, research them. And if you feel led to really support and get their name out there, and if we can, you know, just help spread, you know, your information, then that's another way we can probably sign up to help or whatever it might be.
Yeah. Hey, go ahead, Michelle. I'm sorry, I didn't see you.
That's okay. I just wanted to say something. I know there's been a couple candidates on here that have said, you know, they're not politicians, and I think that's great. They don't have a lot of money, but I want to make sure that to give y'all a little bit of encouragement. And I'm not one that knows how much it costs to run a campaign. I'll be brutally honest with you on that. But y'all need to think about, look at the gentleman up in, I believe it was New Jersey, the truck driver who ran off of, I believe it was like $150 or $160. And
Hey,
won.
Michelle, real quick on that. He ran for a lot more than that. That was before his final report. So people need to understand that that was with no challenger against him. He was running unopposed basically for the Republican primary, and then he went directly against a Democrat with no competition in a very small state. It doesn't really apply.
Sounds like Abbott.
Well, it's the point. It doesn't really apply, and I know that's supposed to give us a good message, but it's false hopes in that we can do it that cheap in the state of Texas, and that we can do it when you're going directly up against a Republican primary. So look back at his numbers; it was a lot more than that, and I'm pretty sure he didn't follow his gas tax that he drove because he was a truck driver. So I'm glad the dude won, but it's drastically skewed on what he really spent. So just be careful using him.
And I understand. Like I said, I don't know what it costs to run a campaign. And Aaron, thank you so much for correcting me on that. I truly appreciate that. I just don't want folks to lose hope that they can win something of this magnitude. You know, just get out and speak your truth. Get out your word to people. I think that that's going to speak huge volumes. Just wanted to give a little bit of encouragement.
You know,
real quick, since I kind of talked her down there real quick, Jay, that is valid. It is. And that's kind of the thing. Like, I mean, look, I'm being told I would have $10 million plus to run this campaign to get a $9,800 a year salary. Like, our system is broken when I got to spend $10 million to get $9,800 salary. So yeah, I mean, the fact is, I tell everybody the same thing. So this goes to Lisa, for Katala, for Ham, for Trevor, everybody, Reuben down there. I need your money, because I need to pay my bills. As campaign finance in Texas, we can't pay ourselves, nor can federal. You can't pay yourselves. So therefore, you have to be independently able to provide for yourself while also doing this. And that's the biggest thing. It's not even about the signs or anything else. It's about just gas money, hotels, food, all the just normal life expenses that you have to be out while you can't run your business. And if you're running your business, then you can't really campaign in the way you need to do it. So that's the biggest problem with the system. But if you get me 5, 10, 15, 20 votes, I'll take that over money all day long, because that's what wins, not money. So, and there goes my dog.
Wait a second. You know, you mean you're not getting taxpayer money to get to run for this, huh? I noticed that bill didn't make it on that priority of the Republican Party last year. That's a joke. I'm not attacking. But it didn't. So here's the deal, guys. I'm going to try to do my best to get all your handles, tweet you guys out, not endorsing anybody, but dude, this is how grassroots people can get their name out there. I'm only on Twitter. I mean, I'm on Gab. I have a Getter, but I don't have any presence on it at all. No Facebook. And I know a lot of people do a lot of stuff on Facebook. Keep using it. You know, use that to your advantage. But without a doubt, everyone I've been hearing speaking, kind of like what Michelle said, this is to encourage you. You're doing what we want people to do. Like we said, we're no one. We're no big donors. We're no nothing. Nobody owns us. We don't own anybody. We just wanted to get the word out and say, what can we do? And we're doing it. And we're doing more than that too. But without a doubt, thank you guys for coming in here. I'm getting ready to wind this thing down. I know this thing could go on for hours and hours, and it has before. But just one more plug there. Use social media. Use us. Use one another. You know, follow people. Start your own spaces. I'll try to do one Mondays or Tuesdays. But you know, it's like Paige said. She kind of wants to get something going. Get it going. You
Yeah,
know?
I can host next I can start next 7 next 7. Hi, I've only had 2 hours sleep. Feel free to message me. I'll get with Michelle. We'll make a list. I duplicate her list. I'm an admin. I'm good at sending stuff out and pushing and retweeting and reposting. So feel free to private message me. Michelle, I'll get that list from you. Summer, I need lessons on how to pin or somebody teach me. And I can start it next week. Jerry, if you want me to, 7 p.m. next Tuesday. And we'll just promote the heck out of this. And yeah, educate people.
Yep, I started a list. I have everyone's information, and I'll just put together each week. I can't even talk right now. Anyways, I'll let everybody know when we're doing it. So thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jerry, for hosting. You're the
Yeah,
best.
you guys follow one another. Follow the co-host up here. They're so much better at this than me. Y'all don't like my slow talk and drawl, so you know I'm an
Okay.
Okie,
Hey,
so
Jerry.
I don't count. You know,
Stop.
whatever. We beat the hell out of Texas every year in football. Is all I know. But anyway,
Well, Jerry,
no.
we all need to meet up at Haywire. Eric would
Well,
love it. So we need
yeah.
to plan that.
But thank you, Aaron, and thank you. I can't
Yep.
go through all these people's pages
you,
for sticking
everybody.
around.
Yeah.
And I'm going to end this unless anybody else has something that they need to go ahead. If you got a speaker, go ahead.
I
Get
just
it,
want
hand,
to say
got your hand
shout
up.
out to Larry. I met him at the GOP event yesterday, and glad to see him on here.
Awesome. Go ahead,
I
Aaron.
was just real quick. I was going to say that, you know, the only reason I'm a blue collar guy, like we talked about earlier. The only reason I'm able to run is because I'm a 100% disabled veteran. So I don't have to worry about being able to pay for my mortgage, putting food on the table. But driving around, and I know Aaron is, we've talked about it before, you know, driving around 6 counties ain't the same as statewide, but, you know, just being able to drive around 6 counties and going to talking to people, trying to get business cards and everything else, I've been doing as bare bones as I can, and I've spent about 10 to 15,000, and I need about another 25,000 just to try to get my name out there a little bit, and that's really, really bare bones. I don't even know if that's going to be enough, but just so you guys kind of have an idea, and that's, like I said, that's for a local house race where you're only trying to get 10,000 people in the primary. So the price only goes up from there.
Well, the more competition, the better. In my mind, I said it a couple hours ago that we're primarying these rhinos. That I think every one of you probably jumped in it because of that. So the more competition, the better. You know, I want to see you guys around. Paige, I'll help you co-host next week. That would actually be better for me. That way I can dip out instead of keeping this thing rolling. But definitely. Oh, Summer, go ahead.
So I, first of all, just make sure that you follow everybody that has been talking and has given us their time. And I am going to start a list of everyone's Twitter handles, websites, all the things, so that it's like a resource. And I'll just have it somewhere. I don't know. But I feel like it's super important that people know who their candidates are locally. And some people just don't even know where to start when it comes to finding things. So we can just give it to them, because it's very important that we get these votes.
Hey, Summer, you can create a list here in Twitter, like I just did.
Oh, I know. Oh, I have them.
Okay.
That's like my favorite thing.
Okay.
And thank you, Jerry, again. And thank you, everyone. I appreciate all of your time, and we are definitely like gonna change Texas. I think that, and I'm super excited that this is happening, because this is the only way it's gonna happen, because we know they can cheat, and so they can't if we outnumber them so much. And it just, we have to go back to the days when voting was like a privilege, and we really need to look at it that way. And so I think that's how we just have to present it to people, and I think we'll do it. So good night, guys.
Awesome. Thank you guys for being here. And I'm going to end the space. So you guys have a blessed week. Get
Yes.
after it. Best of luck. Praying for you guys. Praying for
Yes.
Texas to turn the tide so we can turn the United States around too. Appreciate you guys.
Amen. Good night, everybody.
See y'all. Thank you, Paige, for helping out. Michelle.
Anytime.
Summer. Appreciate it.